My father held the microphone like a weapon that night. He stood in front of 50 guests at his annual Christmas party, pointed at my 13-year-old son Noah, and called him a failure, twice. The room laughed, not everyone, but enough. Then he smiled that polished smile of his and announced that the family home and the $350,000 savings fund would go to Ethan, my brother's son, the golden grandchild. Noah sat frozen beside me, his hands gripping his knees so hard his knuckles went white. I watched my son try to disappear into his chair. I watched him shrink the way children shrink when they learn that the people who should love them have decided they are worthless. I did not argue. I did not cry. I stood up, smiled at my father, and said my son was. My parents froze. Their faces went pale as milk. But I should probably explain how we got there. The drive to the party had been quiet. Noah sat in the passenger seat wearing his best sweater, the navy blue one with the cable knit pattern that Grandpa Henry had given him 2 Christmases ago, before he passed. Noah kept tugging at the sleeves like he was trying to stretch them over his hands. "You sure we have to go?" he asked without looking at me. "Just a few hours," I said. "We eat, we smile, we leave. Easy." He nodded but did not look convinced. Noah was 13, old enough to know that nothing involving my family was ever easy, old enough to have learned that lesson the hard way, year after year, gathering after gathering. When we pulled onto my parents' street, I understood why Noah had been dreading this. The Lawson house looked like something out of a holiday catalog. Professional lights draped every surface. A catering van sat in the driveway. Someone was setting up a video camera in the living room window. 50 cars lined the street because Richard and Margaret Lawson never did anything small. "It looks like a movie set," Noah whispered. I squeezed his hand. "We will be fine." Inside, the house smelled like cinnamon and performance. Guests filled every room, relatives and neighbors and my parents' business friends, all holding drinks and laughing at jokes that were not funny. My mother spotted us immediately. She glided over, air kissed my cheek, then looked at Noah. "Oh," she said, "you came, not 'I am glad you are here,' not 'Merry Christmas,' just you came, like our presence was a minor inconvenience she had hoped to avoid." My father appeared next. He shook Noah's hand too hard, the way he always did, asserting dominance even over a child. "Still fixing broken things, Noah?" he asked with that smile that was not really a smile. "Maybe one day you will fix something that matters." Noah forced a polite laugh. The laugh kids learn when they figure out that showing pain makes things worse. I felt my jaw tighten but said nothing. Not yet. We found seats near the back of the living room. Noah pulled out his phone, not scrolling, just holding it like a shield. A woman I did not recognize was filming everything on her phone. Not casually, deliberately. Like she was waiting for something to happen. My brother Derek arrived 20 minutes later with his wife Vanessa and their son Ethan. The room shifted. People gravitated toward them like they were celebrities making an entrance. Ethan was 14, wearing a blazer, his hair perfectly styled. My mother rushed over immediately. "There is my golden boy," she said loud enough for everyone to hear. Ethan smiled the smile of someone who had been told he was special every day of his life. Vanessa announced his latest achievement, first place in the state science fair, and my father clapped Ethan on the shoulder. "That is a Lawson," he said, beaming. "That is what success looks like." He glanced across the room at Noah, still holding his phone in the corner, and shook his head slightly. A small gesture, a dismissal. Noah saw it. I saw him see it. He set down his phone and stared at his shoes. My Uncle Franklin caught my eye from across the room. My mother's brother, quiet, always sitting in the back at family events. He looked like he wanted to tell me something, but then my father called his name, and the moment was gone. Before dinner, my father clinked his glass. "Time for a little trip down memory lane," he announced. A projector screen lowered. The lights dimmed. I had a bad feeling. The slideshow began. 15 photos of Ethan, winning trophies, shaking hands with the mayor at some youth leadership event, graduation ceremonies, perfect smiles in perfect lighting. Then 2 photos of Noah. One where he was blurry in the background of a group shot. One mid-sneeze at last year's Thanksgiving. The room laughed at the sneeze photo. "Classic Noah," someone said. Noah's face went carefully blank. That expression children learn when showing pain invites more pain. He stared at his shoes while my father narrated the slideshow like a proud documentarian. "Future CEO right there," he said over a photo of Ethan. "Mark my words." Over Noah's sneeze photo, he paused. "And here is our little," he searched for the word, "handyman." More laughter. I reached for Noah's hand under the table. He did not take it. After dinner, my father stood up with the microphone. He did the whole speech about 40 years of marriage, thanked everyone for coming, made jokes that landed perfectly with the crowd. Then his smile changed. Sharpened. "Now for the real reason we are all here tonight," he said. "I assumed it was about their anniversary." It was not. "Margaret and I have been thinking about the future," he continued, "about legacy. We have decided to make an announcement about our estate." My stomach dropped. No, they would not. "Ethan, come up here, son." Ethan walked to the front of the room, confident, rehearsed. Vanessa beamed. Derek nodded like this had all been arranged. "This house," my father said, "the house where 3 generations of Lawsons have lived, will go to Ethan." Applause. Actual applause, like Inheritance was a talent show and Ethan had just won. My mother took the microphone smoothly. "And the family savings fund," she said with a camera-ready smile. $350,000. That goes to Ethan too, all of it. She paused, then added almost casually, "Noah is not included in any of this." More applause. People cheered. My son sat beside me, completely still. Then my father leaned toward a guest at the front table, microphone still on. "You know how it is," he said, chuckling. "One is the future, and one is," he gestured vaguely toward Noah, "a failure. Laughter. The kind of laughter people do when they are relieved it is not about them." Noah's whole body went still. His hands gripped his knees so hard I thought the fabric might tear. He did not cry. 13-year-old boys who have been hurt enough learn not to cry in public. He just shrank. Like he was trying to fold himself into nothing, like he could disappear and make it easier for everyone. My mother's hands were shaking slightly as she passed the microphone back. For just a second, she looked almost afraid. The room was still laughing when something in me shifted. Not broke. Shifted. I looked at my son, this kid who fixed things, who helped without being asked, who never complained about anything. I looked at my parents, who had just erased him in front of 50 people and called it family planning. I remembered Grandpa Henry's words from before he died. "They will try to erase him," he had told me. "Do not let them." I remembered the lawyer, Mr. Shaw, handing me documents I had barely understood. I remembered the phrase, Educational Skills Trust, and the beneficiary's name. Noah Lawson. I remembered a clause I had read and tried to forget because it seemed impossible that anyone would ever be cruel enough to trigger it. My father was still basking in the applause. My son was still trying to disappear. I thought about all the times I had swallowed my words to keep the peace. I thought about what peace had cost my son. I stood up. Chairs scraped. Heads turned. My mother's smile flickered like a light bulb about to burn out. "Stephanie," my father frowned. "We are not done here." "Yes," I said. "We are." I walked to the front of the room. Every step felt like the click of a lock opening. My father tried to block me. "Sit down. You are embarrassing yourself." I smiled at him, the first real smile I had felt all night. "No, Dad, I am about to embarrass you." I took the microphone from his hand before he could react. The room went completely silent. 50 phones were recording. Good. "My son Noah is not a failure," I said. My voice was steady. I was surprised by how calm I felt. "My son is kind. My son is hardworking. My son fixes things that other people throw away." I looked at my father. "You just threw him away in front of 50 people." The silence pressed against the walls. The Christmas tree lights hummed. "But here is what you do not know, Dad." I paused. Let the moment stretch. Grandpa Henry saw exactly who you are, and he made arrangements. My mother's face went white. "My son is the legal beneficiary of Grandpa Henry's Educational Skills Trust," I said. "And what you just did, publicly excluding him, humiliating him, calling him a failure, that triggers a very specific clause." Uncle Franklin stood up in the back of the room. He did not say anything. He just stood, like he was ready for something. "My son is," I said, and I looked at Noah. He was staring at me with wide eyes, not scared, hopeful. For the first time all night, hopeful. I looked back at my parents. "My son is the person Grandpa chose. And now—" I smiled. The next words would change everything. My parents went pale. 50 people stared at me like I had just pulled a grenade from my purse. My father's mouth hung open, but no words came out. My mother gripped the edge of the table like she might collapse. The only sound in the room was the soft hum of Christmas music that someone had forgotten to turn off. 2 years ago, I said into the microphone, Grandpa Henry created an educational skills trust. I let that sentence land, watched it ripple through the room. "He did not tell you, Mom. He did not tell you, Dad. He told me. Because he knew exactly what kind of family this is." My mother flinched. Actually flinched, like my words had physical weight. "The trust is specifically designed for vocational and skills-based education," I continued. "Not college prep, not academic achievements, skills. The kind Noah actually has. Grandpa Henry was a mechanic his whole life. He knew that hands that fix things are worth more than hands that just applaud." My father found his voice. "This is ridiculous. Dad never mentioned any. He was not your dad, Richard." I cut him off. "He was Mom's dad. And he saw how you treated people who did not fit your definition of success." My mother whispered something to my father. I could not hear all of it, but I caught 3 words. "I told you." Her face was gray. "But here is the part you really need to understand," I said. Grandpa Henry was not naive. He knew someone might try to push Noah aside. So he added a protection clause. I paused, making sure every phone in the room was still recording. They were, if the beneficiary, that is Noah, is ever publicly excluded from family inheritance due to personal bias or favoritism, if he is ever humiliated or dismissed in a family setting because he does not meet someone's arbitrary standards, then full control of the trust transfers immediately to his legal guardian. That is me. The words hung in the air like smoke. "Dad, you just stood in front of 50 witnesses and called my son a failure. You announced he was excluded from the family estate because, what was it, 1 is the future and 1 is a failure. That is not opinion. That is public exclusion based on personal bias. On camera." I watched understanding spread across the room like a slow wave. Some guests looked uncomfortable. They had laughed at Noah too. Others pulled out their phones, checking what they had recorded. A few started whispering to each other. My father's expression cycled through confusion, then disbelief, then something I had never seen on Richard Lawson's face before. Fear. Vanessa grabbed Ethan's arm and started pulling him toward the side door. Her face was red, not from embarrassment, from fury. She wanted out before this got worse. My father charged toward me, crossing the room in 3 steps. "Give me that microphone. You are making a fool of yourself." I stepped back, keeping it out of reach. "No, Dad, I am making a record." "This is insane," he sputtered. Henry was sick at the end. He did not know what he was signing. "You manipulated a dying old man. Any lawyer will tear this apart in 5 minutes." "Grandpa Henry signed this document 3 years before he died," I said calmly. "He was in perfect health. It was witnessed by his attorney and notarized by the state of Ohio. And if you want to contest it, there is an anti-contest clause too. Anyone who challenges the trust forfeits any claim to Henry's other assets." I smiled. Did you know Grandpa owned property in Florida? I did not either. Until the lawyer told me. My father's face went from red to purple. You ungrateful little... Careful, Dad. 50 phones. Remember? Murmurs spread through the room. Someone near the back said loud enough to hear, "Did he really call that kid a failure?" Another voice answered, "I have it on video." The narrative was already shifting beneath my father's feet. Derek stood frozen by the Christmas tree. My brother, the golden son, the one who had always stood with our parents. He looked at Vanessa, then at our parents, then at me. For the first time in my life, I could not read his expression. Then a voice came from the back of the room. "She is telling the truth." Everyone turned. Uncle Franklin, my mother's younger brother, was standing with his hands in his pockets and his face grim. He had been quiet all night, sitting in the back like he always did at family events. He and my mother had some falling out years ago that no one ever explained. But he had stayed close to Grandpa Henry until the end. "I was there when Henry signed that trust," Franklin said. He walked slowly toward the front, every eye following him. I witnessed it. So did Henry's attorney, Bernard Shaw. Henry knew exactly what he was doing. He was sharper at 82 than most people are at 40. Franklin stopped in front of my father and looked him dead in the eyes. "Richard, you have spent 20 years treating people like they are either useful or worthless. Henry watched you do it to Patricia. He watched you do it to me. He watched you do it to Stephanie. He was not going to let you do it to that boy." Franklin looked at Noah, and his voice softened. "Henry talked about you, kid. He said you had good hands and a better heart." My mother looked like she might faint. "Franklin, you knew? All this time?" "I tried to tell you, Maggie. You did not want to hear it." Something passed between them. Old pain, old silence, old betrayal. Franklin reached into his jacket and pulled out a folded piece of paper. "Henry gave me a copy, just in case." The whispers in the room became louder. Guests were no longer hiding their conversations. "I cannot believe he said that about a child." "Did you see the slideshow?" "Only 2 pictures of the kid. I always thought there was something off about this family." An older couple near the door quietly grabbed their coats. The wife said to my mother, "Margaret, this is not what we came for." They left without saying goodbye. 3 more couples followed within minutes. Vanessa stormed back into the room, Ethan trailing behind her. "This is a scam," she shouted. "She planned this whole thing. That old man's money was supposed to go to family, real family." I looked at her. "Noah is real family. You just forgot." Vanessa turned to Derek. "Derek, say something." My brother opened his mouth, closed it, then just shook his head. "I do not know what to say, Vanessa." Her eyes went wide with betrayal. In all the chaos, I noticed Ethan. He was not smiling anymore. He was not basking in the attention. He was looking at Noah with an expression I could not identify. Not hatred. Something closer to recognition. My mother suddenly sat down heavily, like her legs had given out. She pressed her hand to her chest. "I need to. I cannot." My father did not even look at her. He was too busy calculating his next move. Then, in the middle of all the arguing and whispering and panic, a small voice cut through everything. "Can I say something?" Everyone turned. Noah was standing up. My 13-year-old son, who had been called a failure in front of 50 people, was standing up. His hands were shaking slightly, but his voice was steady. "I did not know about any trust," he said. "I did not know Grandpa left me anything. I just knew he was the only one here who ever made me feel like I was not broken." He looked at my father, then my mother. "I am sorry I am not what you wanted. I am sorry I like fixing things instead of winning trophies. But I am not a failure. I am just different." The room was completely silent. Grandpa Henry used to say that the people who fix things are more important than the people who break them. Noah looked around the room. "I do not know who breaks things in this family, but I know who I want to be." He sat down. No one moved. For 3 full seconds, the only sound was the Christmas music still playing softly in the background. Then someone in the back started clapping. Slowly. Just one person, then another, not everyone. But enough. I set the microphone down on the nearest table. We are leaving now. I held my hand out to Noah. This time he took it. As we reached the door, my father's voice followed us. This is not over, Stephanie. I turned back one last time. No, Dad, it is just beginning. We stepped into the cold December air. The Christmas lights on the house looked different now, less festive, more like warning signs of what lay inside. Noah was quiet beside me, processing everything that had just happened. In the car, I started the engine and let it warm up. The silence between us was not uncomfortable. It was the kind of silence that happens when too much has been said, and you need time to let it settle. Mom, Noah finally spoke. Did Grandpa really do that? For me? I looked at my son. This kid who had spent years believing he was not enough. This kid who had just stood up in front of 50 people and spoken his truth. Yeah, baby. He really did. Noah nodded slowly. Then he said, almost to himself, he believed in me. He always did. We sat there for another minute, watching the lights from my parents' house twinkle in the darkness. Inside, I knew chaos was still unfolding. Accusations, arguments, blame being thrown in every direction. But out here, in the quiet of the car, we were safe. My phone buzzed. Then again. I glanced at the screen. Texts from numbers I did not recognize. One from my mother. How could you do this to us? One from Derek. We need to talk. And one from a number I did recognize. Mr. Bernard Shaw, Grandpa Henry's attorney. Stephanie. They are going to fight this. Call me tomorrow. There is something else you need to know. I stared at that last message as the Christmas lights faded in my rearview mirror. Something else. Of course there was. With this family, there was always something else. Mom, Noah asked, are you okay? I put down my phone and pulled out of the parking spot. I am okay. We are okay. What happens now? Now we go home. Tomorrow I call the lawyer. And then we figure out what Grandpa Henry really left us. Not just the money, Noah said quietly. Right? I glanced at him. He was looking out the window at the dark streets passing by. No, I said, not just the money. He left us a way to fight back, Noah said. He knew they would do this, and he prepared for it. I did not answer right away because he was right. Henry had seen this coming years ago. He had built something specifically designed to protect Noah from the people who should have loved him. He had known exactly what kind of family we were dealing with. The only question now was what else Henry had known, what else he had prepared, and whether it would be enough to win the war that was just beginning. We pulled into our driveway 20 minutes later. The house was dark and quiet. Normal, safe. Inside, I made us both hot chocolate, our tradition after hard days. We sat at the kitchen table without talking, just existing in the same space, recovering from what we had been through. Finally, Noah looked up. Mom? Thank you. For what? For standing up, for saying I was not a failure, in front of everyone. I reached across the table and took his hand. You are not a failure. You never were, and I will spend the rest of my life making sure you know that. He squeezed my hand back. I know. I think I finally know. After Noah went to bed, I sat alone in the kitchen with my phone. Mr. Shaw's message glowed on the screen. There is something else you need to know. I typed back 2 words. I am ready. His response came quickly. Tomorrow, 9 a.m. My office. Bring the documents Henry gave you. And Stephanie, do not answer calls from your parents tonight. Whatever they say, it is not true. I stared at that last sentence. Whatever they say, it is not true. What else had Henry discovered? What else had he documented? And what had my parents been hiding that required a warning like that? I turned off my phone, finished my cold hot chocolate, and went to check on Noah. He was already asleep, still in his good sweater, the one Henry had given him. His face was peaceful in a way I had not seen in months. "Sleep well, baby," I whispered from his doorway. "Tomorrow we keep fighting." Then I went to my own room and did not sleep at all. I just lay there in the darkness, thinking about my father's face when I took that microphone, thinking about my mother's shaking hands, thinking about the clause Henry had written, knowing exactly what his own family was capable of, and thinking about Mr. Shaw's words. "There is something else you need to know. Whatever it was, I would find out tomorrow, and whatever it took, I would protect my son." Henry had given me the tools. Now it was up to me to use them. The house was dark when we pulled into the driveway that night. Noah had not spoken since we left my parents' street. The silence was not uncomfortable. It was the kind of silence that happens when too much has been said, and you need time to let it settle. Inside, I turned on the kitchen light and started making hot chocolate. Our tradition after hard days. Noah sat at the table, still wearing his good sweater, tracing patterns on the wood with his finger the way he did when he was processing something big. "Mom," he said without looking up, "can you tell me about Grandpa Henry? What do you want to know? Not the stuff everyone says. The real stuff. Why he picked me. Why he saw something nobody else does." I set down the mugs and sat across from him. The clock on the wall ticked quietly. Outside, a car passed by, headlights sweeping across the window. "Okay," I said. "Let me tell you about the man who saved your future before you even knew it needed saving." I took a breath and went back to the beginning. Henry Mitchell spent 43 years as a mechanic in Columbus. He started at 16, apprenticing at a shop his uncle owned on the east side of town. By 30, he had his own garage. By 50, he had 3 locations. He was not rich in the way my father measured wealth, but he was comfortable. More importantly, he was respected by people who actually knew him. Grandpa Henry had a philosophy. He used to say a man who can fix things will never go hungry. He believed in work you could touch, results you could see. He had no patience for people who measured worth in degrees and titles, paper credentials, he called them. "Show me what your hands can do." What most people did not know was that Henry was the failure in his own family. His 2 brothers became a doctor and a lawyer. His parents never stopped reminding him that he could have been more. At family gatherings, he was the one they talked around, not to. He carried that wound his whole life, quiet, hidden, but never healed. "That is why he understood you," I told Noah, "because he lived it." Noah looked up. He was the failure too? To them, not to himself. He built a life they said he could not have. He just never forgot how it felt to be dismissed. On the counter behind Noah, I could see the old toolbox Henry had left him. The one Noah had never opened because it hurt too much. Tonight, something told me it was time. "The first time Henry met you, something changed in his face," I continued. "You were 4. It was a family picnic at Alum Creek. You had found a broken flashlight and were taking it apart on a blanket while everyone else played horseshoes." Noah smiled slightly. "I remember that. Sort of. Everyone else ignored you or told you to stop making a mess. But Henry walked over, sat down next to you, and said, 'Show me what you are doing.' That was the beginning. He saw something in you that day, something he recognized." After that, every other Saturday I would drop Noah at Henry's house. They would disappear into the garage for hours. I would come back to find them both covered in grease, grinning like conspirators who had just pulled off a heist. Those were the only days Noah seemed truly happy. The big project came when Noah was 10. Henry gave him the ultimate challenge. An old Zenith radio from the 1950s. Completely dead. "Your great-grandmother listened to this during the war," Henry told him. "Think you can bring it back?" I remember Noah's eyes that day. They lit up in a way I never saw at school or family events. This was his language. This was his world. It took them 4 months. Henry did not just show Noah how to fix it, he made Noah figure it out. "I will teach you how to think," Henry said. "The rest you will teach yourself. They tracked down vintage parts from specialty shops and online auctions. They learned about vacuum tubes and capacitors and circuits. Noah's notebook from that project was 60 pages long, filled with diagrams and notes and questions. The day the radio crackled to life, Noah cried. Not sad tears. The kind of tears that come when you realize you are capable of something you did not know you could do. Henry put his hand on Noah's shoulder and said 5 words I will never forget. See, you are not broken. You just work different. Noah used that phrase like armor for years. Every time someone made him feel less than, he would whisper it to himself. You are not broken. You just work different. The Zenith radio still sat in Noah's room. He had not turned it on since Henry's funeral. I wondered if he would ever be ready. That boy has a gift, Stephanie, Henry told me once. Do not let them beat it out of him. Who? I asked. He just looked at me. We both knew who. I found out later that Henry kept a journal. He wrote about Noah more than anyone else in the family, more than his own daughter, pages and pages about this boy who reminded him of himself. 3 years before the Christmas party, Henry called me one afternoon. It was unusual. He usually just showed up. Come over, he said, alone. There is something we need to discuss. His voice had an edge I had never heard before. I drove to his house not knowing what to expect. He sat me down at his kitchen table with coffee he had made too strong, the way he always did. I have been watching this family for 40 years, he said. I watched them do it to me. I watched them do it to Franklin. I watched them do it to Patricia. Now I am watching them do it to Noah. What do you mean? I asked. He explained what he called the Lawson sorting system. Richard needed someone to be the failure so he could feel like the success. It was never about achievement, it was about hierarchy. They pick the golden child and they pick the scapegoat, Henry said. And once you are sorted, you do not get resorted. My hands were cold around the coffee cup. I knew he was right. I had lived it. They are going to try to erase Noah from this family's future, Henry continued. Not kill him, nothing dramatic, just make him invisible. They will leave everything to Ethan and call it sensible. And Noah will spend his whole life wondering why he was not good enough. What can I do? I asked. Henry leaned forward. I am going to do something about it. I am meeting with a lawyer next week. A good one. Old friend of mine. I am setting up something they cannot touch. He slid a business card across the table. Bernard Shaw, attorney at law. But Stephanie, Henry said, his eyes intense, you have to promise me. When the time comes, do not back down. These people respect power, nothing else. So you are going to have to show them some. I still had that card in my wallet 3 years later. Slightly worn, but still readable. Over the next 6 months, Henry worked with Mr. Shaw. He created the Educational Skills Trust, specifically designed for vocational and trades education. The trust would cover apprenticeships, technical schools, certification programs, equipment. Not a dollar could be used for traditional 4-year college unless Noah specifically chose that path. Henry funded it by selling his Florida property, a small beach cottage he had bought decades ago. He liquidated investments he had kept hidden from even my mother. By the time he was done, the trust held $180,000. More than enough to give that boy a real start, Henry told me. But Henry was not naive. He knew the family would try to intervene, so he added the protection clause I had quoted at the Christmas party. Public exclusion based on bias would trigger full guardian control. Any contest would result in forfeiture of other benefits. They will try to convince Noah he does not deserve it, Henry said. This makes sure they cannot take it even if they convince him. Uncle Franklin witnessed the signing. So did Mr. Shaw's paralegal and a notary. Henry had everything documented, filmed, and stored in 3 separate locations. I know how Richard operates, Henry said. He will claim I was senile. This proves I was not. His final instructions were clear. Do not tell Margaret. She will tell Richard. Do not tell Noah yet. He is too young to carry this. And Stephanie, when they cross the line, and they will, do not hesitate. You will know the moment when it comes. He mentioned another document that day. something separate from the trust. Insurance, he called it. I did not know what he meant then. I was starting to wonder if tonight was the night to find out. Noah had finished his hot chocolate by the time I finished the story. "So Grandpa saw it coming," he said quietly. "All of it. He saw it because he lived it. He did not want that for you." After Henry died, Mr. Shaw gave me a sealed envelope. "Henry said to open this when you are ready," Shaw told me. "You will know when." I had kept it in my dresser drawer for 2 years, unopened. Tonight, something told me it was time. I got the envelope and sat back down with Noah. We opened it together. Henry's handwriting was shaky but clear, written in the months before he passed. "Dear Stephanie, if you are reading this, something happened. Something I hoped would not but knew probably would. I spent my whole life being the wrong kind of son. Too simple, too rough. Not impressive enough for the family name. I see the same thing starting with Noah. The same looks. The same dismissals. The same quiet cruelty. I could not protect myself, but I can protect him. Use the trust. Use whatever you have to. Do not let them make him small. And tell Noah this. The people who fix things are the ones who keep the world running. The rest just take credit." Noah's eyes were wet when I finished reading, but he did not cry. "He really believed in me," he whispered. "He really did, baby. He really did." At the bottom of the letter, there was a postscript I had missed at first. "There is another envelope, marked open when they cross the line. You will know." I went back to the dresser and searched the drawer. Behind some old papers, there it was. Another envelope, yellowed with age. Written on the front in Henry's handwriting, "Open when they cross the line." My hands shook slightly as I held it. The envelope was thick, more than just a letter. I could feel something hard inside, like a small object. A key, maybe, or a flash drive. I could not tell without opening it. Noah looked at me. "Are we opening it?" I thought about the party, about what my father had said, about the texts waiting on my phone. "They crossed the line tonight," I said. "They definitely crossed it." But something stopped me. "Mr. Shaw's text from earlier. There is something else you need to know. Maybe I should wait. Maybe he needed to be there." "Tomorrow," I told Noah. "We will open it tomorrow with Mr. Shaw." Noah yawned. The exhaustion of the night was finally hitting him. "Mom," he said at his bedroom door, "thanks for standing up for me tonight." My heart cracked in the best way. Always, baby, always. After Noah went to bed, I sat alone in the kitchen with both letters in front of me. My phone buzzed. Another text from my mother. "You have no idea what you have started." I stared at the screen, then typed back 4 words. "Yes, I do." Then I blocked her number. In the drawer upstairs, Henry's second envelope waited. Whatever was inside, it had waited 2 years. It could wait 1 more night. But something told me tomorrow was going to change everything again. I woke to silence the morning after Christmas. The kind of silence that feels fragile, like glass about to shatter. Sunlight came through the curtains, soft and golden. For 3 seconds, I forgot everything that had happened. Then I remembered, and I checked my phone. 47 missed calls, 83 text messages, 12 voicemails. I did not open any of them yet. I needed coffee first. I needed to be ready for whatever was waiting in those messages. Whatever accusations, whatever threats, whatever desperate attempts to undo what I had done. I checked on Noah first. His door was still closed. No sound from inside. Good. Let him sleep. Let him have a few more hours of peace before the world came crashing back. In the kitchen, I made coffee on autopilot, staring out the window at the snow that had fallen overnight. Everything looked clean, white, peaceful, the opposite of what was waiting on my phone. Through the kitchen window, I noticed tire tracks in the fresh snow. Someone had driven up our street and stopped in front of the house. Recently. The tracks were still sharp, not yet softened by wind or new snow. I filed that away and started reading. The messages from my mother came first. 11:42 p.m. How could you humiliate us like this? 12:15 a.m. Your father has not slept. He is devastated. 1:30 a.m. Call me. We can still fix this. 3 a.m. You have destroyed this family. I hope you are happy. The progression told a story: anger to bargaining to guilt to blame. The classic Margaret Lawson playbook, refined over decades of practice. My father had sent only one text at 2 a.m. You think you have won something. You have not. This is far from over. No calls from him, just that one message. Somehow that was worse. Richard Lawson did not waste words. When he spoke, he meant it. Derek's messages were different. Stephanie, what the hell was that? Then Vanessa is furious. Ethan is confused. Then we need to talk. Not about the money. About what happens next. His tone was less attacking, more calculating. Derek had always been the strategist in the family, the one who figured out which way the wind was blowing and positioned himself accordingly. Vanessa had left a voicemail. I played it on low volume. You vindictive, jealous, pathetic excuse for a sister-in-law. I deleted it at the 15-second mark. I had heard enough, but I saved it to my cloud storage first. Evidence. I was learning to think like that now. Then I noticed a text from an unknown number, sent at 4 a.m. They are talking about lawyers. Be careful. No signature. No follow-up. Who was warning me? Someone inside the family circle, clearly. But who? I put in my earbuds and started on the voicemails. My mother's voice was thick, like she had been crying. Stephanie, honey, I know you are angry, but this is not the way. Your father just wanted what is best for the family. You know how he is. He did not mean to hurt Noah. Please, let us talk before you do anything you cannot take back. The classic pattern. Minimize, excuse, redirect blame. As if calling a child a failure in front of 50 people was just a minor misunderstanding. My father's voicemail was different. His voice was controlled, cold. Stephanie. I have consulted with my attorney this morning. Whatever document you think you have, it will not hold up. Henry was not in his right mind at the end. Everyone knew that. If you pursue this, you will lose more than you gain. Think about Noah's future. Think about what this will do to him. Using Noah as leverage. Of course. Richard always found the pressure point. Derek's voicemail was calmer than the others. Hey, it is me. Look, last night was a lot, for everyone. I am not calling to fight. I am calling because I think we can work something out. You, me, no parents, just siblings. Call me back. I was not sure if this was genuine or a trap. Probably both. Derek never did anything without calculating the angles. One voicemail surprised me. Aunt Caroline, my mother's cousin, rarely involved in family drama. Stephanie, I just want you to know. I saw what happened. I recorded some of it. What they did to that boy was wrong. If you need a witness, I am here. I saved that one twice. The last voicemail was from Mr. Shaw, left at 7 a.m. Stephanie, call me as soon as you wake up. They have already contacted me. And there has been a development. We need to meet today. A development. That word sat heavy in my stomach. I heard Noah's door open around 10. He shuffled into the kitchen, still in his pajamas, his eyes going straight to my phone on the table. How bad is it? He asked. I did not lie. Pretty bad. He poured himself cereal and sat across from me. The Christmas tree lights blinked in the living room, cheerfully oblivious to the war being waged around them. Are they going to try to take the trust away? Noah asked. They might try. They will not succeed. How do you know? Because Grandpa Henry knew exactly who he was dealing with. He prepared for this. Noah pushed his cereal around the bowl without eating it. The spoon clinked against the ceramic in the quiet kitchen. Mom, why do they hate me? The question hit me like a physical blow. They do not hate you, Noah. They just do not understand you. What is the difference? I did not have a good answer for that. Sometimes there was no difference at all. Noah was quiet for a long moment. Then, very softly, he said something that broke my heart. Sometimes I thought they were right. About what? About me being a failure. About me not being good enough. His eyes were wet now. I thought maybe if I tried harder, if I got better grades, if I was more like Ethan. I thought I was broken, Mom. I really did. I moved to his side of the table and pulled him into a hug. You are not broken. You have never been broken. You are exactly who you are supposed to be. And anyone who cannot see that? That is their failure, not yours. He cried then, really cried. For the first time in years, he let himself fall apart. I held him and let him, my own tears falling into his hair. When Noah finally pulled back, he wiped his eyes and said something that surprised me. I want to open Grandpa's toolbox, the one he left me. I think I am ready now. We went to Noah's room together. The toolbox sat in the corner where it had been since Henry's funeral. Navy blue metal, scratched and dented from decades of use. Noah had never opened it. Too painful. He knelt down, hands hesitating on the latches. You sure you want to do this? I asked. He nodded, clicked the latches open. The smell hit us first. Machine oil and metal, the smell of Henry's garage, tools arranged with precision, wrenches, screwdrivers, pliers, all worn smooth from use, each one in its place, organized the way Henry organized everything. Noah touched them one by one, like he was greeting old friends. Then he found the hidden compartment. Underneath the top tray, a false bottom. Mom, look at this. He lifted it carefully. Inside was a small leather pouch, a folded piece of paper, and a USB drive. Noah unfolded the paper. Henry's handwriting. Noah. These tools built my life. Now they are yours. Build something good. Grandpa H. Below that was a postscript. The drive is for your mom. She will know when to use it. Noah looked at me. What is on it? I do not know, but I think we are about to find out. The leather pouch contained a single item, a small brass key, no label, no note explaining what it opened. But it looked old, older than the toolbox itself. I left Noah examining the tools while I went to call Mr. Shaw. I needed to tell him about the USB drive. I needed to understand what development he had mentioned. As I picked up my phone, I glanced out the kitchen window and froze. The tire tracks I had noticed earlier. They led to a car. A black Mercedes parked 3 houses down, facing our house. Engine running, exhaust visible in the cold air. I knew that car. Richard's car. He was sitting in the driver's seat watching our house. I stepped back from the window instinctively. How long had he been there? Was he waiting for us to leave? Waiting to approach? Or just watching, reminding us he was there? I could call the police, but what would I say? My father is parked on a public street? I could confront him, but that was probably what he wanted. I could ignore him, but that felt like giving him power. I chose option 4, document everything. I used my phone to photograph the car, the license plate, the timestamp, saved them to my cloud. Then I texted Mr. Shaw. My father is parked outside my house watching us. Call me now. As I watched, another car pulled up behind Richard's Mercedes. A woman got out, not my mother. She walked to Richard's passenger door, got in. They talked for several minutes. I could not see her face clearly, but something about her posture seemed familiar. Confident, professional, like someone used to being in control. After about 10 minutes, the woman got out of Richard's car. She did not look toward our house. Deliberately, it seemed. She got back in her own car and drove away. Richard stayed. My phone rang. Mr. Shaw. Stephanie, I got your message. Is he still there? Yes. Who is he talking to? There was a woman. A pause. What did she look like? I described her as best I could. Middle-aged, dark coat, confident walk. Another pause, longer this time. I was afraid of this. Afraid of what? Stephanie. That might be Helen Rourke. Who? Richard's attorney. She is aggressive. If he is meeting with her on Christmas morning, he is planning something significant. My stomach dropped. Like what? Like trying to have you declared unfit, or claiming Henry was incompetent, or both. Noah's voice came from the doorway. Mom, who is outside? I turned. He had seen the car. It is okay, I said, though it was not. Just stay inside. Is that Grandpa Richard? I did not answer. That was answer enough. As we watched, Richard finally started his car. He pulled away slowly, deliberately, but not before looking directly at our window. Not before raising his hand in a wave that was not friendly. A wave that said, I see you. I am coming. Mr. Shaw's voice in my ear pulled me back. Stephanie, we need to meet today. Bring the USB drive. And whatever is in that second envelope. Because if Richard is involving Helen Rourke, this just became a war. That night, after Noah went to bed, I sat alone in the kitchen. The USB drive and the brass key sat on the table in front of me. Henry's weapons, waiting to be used. Around 11, my phone rang. An unknown number. I almost did not answer. Is this Stephanie Lawson? A woman's voice, low and cautious. Who is this? My name is Patricia. Patricia Lawson. My blood went cold. Richard's sister. The one who had disappeared from the family 20 years ago. The one no one ever talked about. I heard about what happened at Christmas. I heard Richard is coming after you. How did you know? I have my sources. Listen to me carefully, Stephanie. You need to know what Richard did to me. Because he is about to do the same thing to you. What do you mean? Richard does not just fight. He destroys. He will go after your job. Your reputation. Your mental health. He will try to take Noah from you. How do you know? A pause. A breath. Because he took my daughter from me. And no one believed me until it was too late. The line went dead. I sat in the dark kitchen, phone still pressed to my ear. Richard's sister, a daughter no one mentioned, a pattern I was only beginning to see. Everything I thought I knew about my family was just the surface. The real secrets were buried much deeper, and Richard knew where all of them were. I drove to Mr. Shaw's office the same afternoon with the USB drive in my pocket and 1,000 questions in my head. Noah stayed with Mrs. Chen, our neighbor 3 doors down, a retired teacher who asked no questions and made excellent grilled cheese sandwiches. I told him I would be back in a few hours. I did not tell him I was preparing for war. Shaw's office was in a modest building downtown. Old brick, no flash. The kind of place that said competence over performance. Henry would have liked it. That was probably why he chose Shaw in the first place. Bernard Shaw was older than I expected. Late 60s, silver hair, steady hands that looked like they had signed 1,000 important documents. His office smelled like coffee and old paper. Photos lined the walls, and one of them stopped me cold. Shaw with Henry, both of them grinning on a fishing boat somewhere, holding up their catches like proud boys. They were friends, I realized, not just attorney and client. Shaw did not waste time on pleasantries. Richard contacted me this morning, he said. Twice. He demanded I turn over all documents related to Henry's trust. I told him to file a formal request through proper channels. He did not like that. I placed the USB drive on his desk. Noah found this in Henry's toolbox. There was a note. It is for me. Shaw's eyes flickered with something. Recognition, maybe, or anticipation. Henry mentioned this, he said. I did not know where he had hidden it. What is on it? Let us find out together. Shaw paused before reaching for the drive. Stephanie, before we look at this, I need to warn you. What is on here might change how you see your family. Henry told me it would. I nodded. I was ready, or at least I thought I was. Shaw plugged the drive into his computer. 3 files appeared on the screen, labeled simply Recording 1, Recording 2, Recording 3. Dated from 3 years ago, around the time Henry created the trust. Recording 1 was audio only, slightly muffled. Recorded secretly. Henry's voice came through first, calm and steady. Richard, I am asking you to treat Noah fairly. That is all. Then my father's voice, dismissive. Henry, the boy is slow. Everyone can see it. He is not slow. He is different. Different is just a nice word for failure. I will not pretend otherwise. And if I leave him something in my will? Richard laughed, actually laughed. Waste your money if you want. It will not change what he is. The recording ended. My hands were shaking. Recording 2 was a conversation between my parents, apparently recorded without their knowledge. Richard's voice. Your father is going senile, talking about leaving money to Noah. Margaret's voice, hesitant. Maybe we should let him. Richard, sharp. No, that money should go to the family, to Ethan, to someone who will actually make something of it. But Noah is family too. Noah is Stephanie's mistake, not our legacy. My stomach turned. Mistake. He called my son a mistake. Recording 3 was clearer. Henry must have upgraded his recording method. Richard again. Henry, I am warning you. If you cut Ethan out of your will for that disappointment, I will contest everything. Henry's voice. Steady. You can try. I will have you declared incompetent. I have connections. Richard, I have been dealing with men like you my whole life. You are not as powerful as you think. We will see about that. The recording ended with a door slamming. Shaw looked at me. These recordings are admissible in Ohio, Stephanie. Henry recorded them legally. They prove Richard's intent to exclude Noah was not about merit. It was about prejudice. And they prove Richard threatened to fabricate incompetency claims. If he tries that now, we have evidence he planned it years ago. I sat back in my chair. Henry had not just protected Noah, he had built a fortress. Shaw scrolled down on the screen. There is a 4th file. It is password protected. He tried a few combinations. Nothing worked. Henry must have wanted you to figure this one out yourself, Shaw said. I filed that away for later. Right now, we had enough. Shaw outlined what Richard might try next. He will claim Henry was mentally unfit. We counter with the recordings and the witnesses. He will claim you unduly influenced Henry. We counter with the fact that I drafted the trust, not you. He will try to drag this out, make it expensive, hope you give up. I will not give up. Shaw smiled slightly. Henry said you would say that. He explained the Helen Rourke problem. If she is involved, we have a fight ahead. She is aggressive, expensive, and does not care about ethics. But she is also sloppy when she thinks she is winning. She will overreach. When she does, we will be ready. He handed me a small recording device. Document everything, every call, every text, every visit. Do not meet with Richard alone. If he shows up, record the conversation. Ohio is a one-party consent state. You can record without telling him. I told Shaw about the second envelope Henry had left, the one marked open when they crossed the line. Shaw nodded slowly. I know about that one. But I do not know what is inside. Henry was specific. Only you could open it. Only when the time was right. Is now the right time? After what they did at Christmas? I would say so. But that is your call. Shaw walked me to the door. Stephanie, one more thing. Henry talked about you often. He was proud of you. He said you were the only one in that family who still had a soul. I did not know what to say to that. I just nodded and left. As I reached my car, my phone buzzed. A text from Mrs. Chen. Your parents just pulled into your driveway. Noah is safe with me. What do you want me to do? My heart stopped. Do not let her take him anywhere. I am on my way. She is being very insistent. Mrs. Chen, do not let Noah leave with her. I will be there in 30 minutes. I drove faster than I should have. My mind was spinning. What did they want? What would they try? I had Shaw's recording device in my pocket. Good. I clicked it on before I even turned onto my street. Richard's Mercedes was in my driveway, blocking me out. He was standing on my porch, arms crossed. Margaret beside him, clutching her purse like a shield. They had been waiting. They had planned this. I got out of my car and did not rush. You are blocking my driveway. We need to talk. Richard's voice was controlled, too controlled. So talk, inside. This is a family matter. It became a public matter when you announced it to 50 people, Dad. He flinched. Good. I unlocked the door and let them follow me in. Better to have this on my territory. Better to have it recorded. We stood in the living room. No one sat down. Stephanie, I am going to be direct, Richard said. That would be a first. His jaw tightened. Whatever document you think Henry left, it will not hold up in court. My lawyer disagrees. Your lawyer is a small-town nobody. I have hired Helen Rourke. I know, I saw you meeting with her this morning. While you were parked outside my house, that caught him off guard. His eyes narrowed. Margaret stepped forward and for a moment her mask slipped. She looked exhausted. Old in a way I had never noticed before. Stephanie, please, can we just talk? Without the lawyers, without the threats? As a family? She started crying. Soft, practiced tears. Your grandfather would not have wanted this. He loved all his grandchildren. He loved Noah. Did he ever tell you he loved Ethan, Mom? She did not answer. The tears kept coming. Dad would never have excluded Ethan from everything. You must have influenced him somehow. I have recordings, Mom. The tears stopped. Fast. Recordings of Dad telling Grandpa Henry that Noah was a mistake. Recordings of Dad threatening to have Grandpa declared incompetent. Recordings of you saying nothing while Dad called your own grandson worthless. Margaret's face went white. She looked at Richard. Richard changed tactics. He held up his hands, the gesture of a reasonable man. Okay, let us all calm down. We can work something out. There is nothing to work out. Stephanie, be practical. We are family. We can split the trust. 50-50 between Noah and Ethan. Number 60-40 then. In Noah's favor, number. What do you want? I want you to leave my house. The reasonable mask crumbled. Richard slammed his hand on my coffee table, hard enough to rattle the picture frames. That boy will never amount to anything. He is a failure, just like you. You have been a disappointment since the day you were born. Everything I built, everything this family has, and you are going to destroy it for a kid who can barely read. The room went silent. He was breathing hard. His face was purple. My mother stood frozen, eyes wide. Then a voice came from the top of the stairs. I can read fine. We all turned. Noah stood there. I had not heard him come in. He must have come through the back door when he saw the cars. His face was pale, but his voice was steady. I read better than you think, and I heard everything you just said. I saw my mother reach toward Noah, an instinct maybe, or guilt. But Richard grabbed her arm and pulled her back. The gesture was rough, possessive. I had seen it before. I had just never let myself name what it was. Get out of my house, I said. Richard was still breathing hard. Stephanie, now, you cannot. I can. And I am. You have 30 seconds before I call the police. Margaret made one last attempt. Stephanie, please. We are your parents. We love you. You love control. That is not the same thing. We just want what is best for the family. You want what is best for yourselves. That is all you have ever wanted. She opened her mouth, closed it. For once she had nothing to say. Richard walked to the door slowly, trying to reclaim his dignity. He turned back one last time. You think Henry's little trust will protect you? You think those recordings matter? I will find a way to break all of it. I have been in this family for 35 years. I know where all the bodies are buried, Stephanie, all of them. Is that a threat? He smiled. Cold, empty. It is a promise. He walked out. Margaret followed without looking back. I locked the door behind them, checked the back door, locked too. Then I went to Noah, still standing on the stairs. I am sorry you heard that. I am not, he said quietly. Now I know. Know what? That it was never about me being good enough. It was about them being broken. I pulled him into a hug. This kid, this incredible kid. Later, checking the back door more carefully, I noticed something I had missed before. Fresh scratches around the lock. Someone had tried to break in, recently. And the back door was how Noah had entered. It had been unlocked. It should not have been. I checked every window, every door. The scratches on the back lock bothered me. Had someone tried to break in? When? Last night while Richard was watching? Or earlier, while we were at Shaw's office? I told Noah we would be more careful. New locks, alarm system. Do not open the door for anyone without checking with me first. He nodded. He understood more than a 13-year-old should have to. That night, after Noah went to bed, my phone rang. Unknown number. I almost did not answer. A woman's voice, low and cautious. Is this Stephanie Lawson? Who is this? My name is Patricia Lawson. I heard about what happened at Christmas. I heard Richard is coming after you. How did you know? I have my sources. Listen to me carefully, Stephanie. You need to know what Richard did to me. Because he is about to do the same thing to you. What do you mean? Richard does not just fight. He destroys. He will go after your job, your reputation, your mental health. He will try to take Noah from you. How do you know? A pause. A breath. Because he took my daughter from me. And no one believed me until it was too late. The line went dead. I sat in the dark kitchen, phone still pressed to my ear, thinking about a man who had spent 30 years destroying people who stood in his way. He had made Sandra disappear. He had taken Patricia's daughter. He had silenced anyone who threatened his image. Now it was my turn. But Richard had made one mistake. He thought I was like the others, alone, unsupported, easy to break. He was wrong. Henry had spent years building me an arsenal. And tomorrow, I was going to start using it. I called Patricia back at 7 the next morning. She answered on the first ring, like she had been waiting by the phone all night. Can we meet? I asked. In person, I was hoping you would ask. There are things I cannot say over the phone. We agreed on a diner 30 miles outside Columbus. Neutral territory, away from family eyes. The kind of place where nobody would recognize us, and nobody would care. I arranged for Noah to stay with Mrs. Chen again. He did not argue this time. He just asked me to be careful. When did my 13-year-old start telling me to be careful? When did he have to? The drive felt longer than 30 miles. I kept checking my rearview mirror, looking for Richard's Mercedes, looking for anyone who might be following. His surveillance had made me paranoid, or maybe paranoid was just the smart way to be now. The diner was a small place, mostly empty at 9 in the morning. I spotted Patricia immediately. She was tucked into a corner booth facing the door, hands wrapped around a coffee cup like it was keeping her anchored. She looked like Richard, but softer, worn by years of something heavy. Mid-50s, gray streaking her hair. She did not look broken or fragile. She looked like a survivor, steel wrapped in ordinary, but she was not alone. Sitting across from her was a man I recognized from the photos in Mr. Shaw's office, Bernard Shaw himself. They had been waiting together. Mr. Shaw? What are you doing here? Sit down, Stephanie. Patricia and I have known each other for a long time. Henry introduced us, Patricia said quietly. 22 years ago, when I needed help. I sat down. My world kept expanding into dark corners I never knew existed. Patricia started from the beginning. She was the youngest Lawson sibling, 5 years younger than Richard. She had married young, to a man named Thomas, a construction worker. Richard disapproved. Thomas was not good enough for the Lawson name. Richard spent 3 years trying to destroy my marriage, Patricia said. He finally succeeded. How? He started with whispers, telling family Thomas was unreliable, lazy, not worthy. Then he moved to finances, convinced our father to cut me out of family business opportunities. When that did not break us, he got creative. Patricia's voice dropped. He hired a private investigator, manufactured evidence that Thomas was having an affair. Was he? No. But by the time we proved the photos were staged, my marriage was already over. Thomas could not handle the suspicion, the shame. He left. I sat there absorbing this. My father had destroyed his own sister's marriage with fabricated evidence, and no one had stopped him. We had a daughter, Patricia continued. Emily. She was 7 when Thomas left. Richard convinced my parents that I was unstable. That Emily would be better off with him and Margaret during my difficult time. It was supposed to be temporary. A few months while I got back on my feet. What happened? It became permanent. They used my depression Richard caused, as evidence I was unfit. By the time I could fight back, Emily did not want to know me anymore. Richard had made sure of that. Shaw reached into his briefcase and pulled out a file. This is why Henry asked me to bring Patricia into this, he said. She is not just a witness to Richard's character. She is evidence of a pattern that is legally relevant. Patricia leaned forward. This is what he does, Stephanie. He finds your weakness and he exploits it. He isolated me. He will try to isolate you. And if he cannot get to you, he will go through Noah. The coffee in my stomach turned to acid. Shaw took over the conversation. Stephanie, there is more to Henry's trust than you know. What do you mean? You showed me the documents. I showed you the primary trust. There is also a secondary provision. He opened the file. Pages and pages of legal language. You know about the $180,000 in the Educational Skills Trust. But Henry also owned property. The Florida cottage I mentioned. That property is now worth approximately $270,000. Combined with the trust, Noah's total inheritance is closer to $450,000. I could not breathe. $450,000. Henry did not want Richard to know the full amount, Shaw explained. He knew Richard would fight harder if he knew what was really at stake. The Florida property is held in a separate LLC. Technically, it is not part of Henry's estate. It is a business asset that transfers directly to the trust upon certain conditions. Conditions like the ones Richard triggered at Christmas. Exactly. His announcement accelerated everything. There is also an anti-contest provision, Shaw continued. If anyone challenges the trust and loses, they forfeit any claim to other Henry-related assets. Richard does not know about the Florida property yet. If he contests the trust and loses, he loses any chance at that money too. And if he finds out before he contests, he might fight even harder, or he might realize he cannot win and back off. Which do you think he will do? Shaw and Patricia exchanged a look. Richard never backs off, Patricia said. It is not in his nature. Shaw's expression was grim. There is one more thing. Richard asked me a question that concerned me. He asked if the trust could be voided if the beneficiary voluntarily renounced it. My blood went cold. He is going to try to get to Noah directly. That is what I believe, yes. I had brought Henry's second envelope with me, as Shaw had requested. It sat on the table between us, yellowed and heavy with secrets. Henry's instructions were clear, Shaw said. Only you could open it. Only when Richard crossed the line. I think we are past that point. I agree. My hands trembled as I broke the seal. Inside was a letter, several photographs, and a small brass key that matched the one from Henry's toolbox. Patricia drew a sharp breath when she saw the key. I know what that opens. I unfolded the letter first. Henry's handwriting, steady, despite his age. Stephanie. If you are reading this, Richard has done what I always feared he would. The recordings on the USB are your shield. What is in this envelope is your sword. The key opens a safety deposit box at First National Bank of Columbus. Box 1247. Inside, you will find documents that Richard has spent 30 years trying to destroy. Documents that prove he is not the man this family thinks he is. Use them only if you have to. But if you have to, do not hesitate. I spread the photographs on the table. Old photos, faded with time. One showed Richard with a woman I did not recognize. Not Margaret. Another showed paperwork with Richard's signature. A third showed a building I had never seen. Industrial, abandoned looking. What are these? Patricia picked up the photo of the woman. Her face went pale. That is Sandra, Richard's first wife. Richard was married before Mom? For 3 years. No one talks about it. That is the point. What happened to her? Patricia set the photo down carefully. Officially? She left him, disappeared. And unofficially? Patricia looked at Shaw. Shaw looked at me. That is what is in the safety deposit box, Stephanie. The truth about what really happened. The third photograph, the industrial building, had writing on the back. An address. And below it, in Henry's handwriting, this is where he buried the evidence. The real evidence. My phone buzzed. Mrs. Chen. Stephanie, I am sorry to bother you, but there is a woman here. She says she is Noah's grandmother. She wants to take him to lunch. My heart stopped. Do not let her take him anywhere. I am on my way. She is being very insistent. Mrs. Chen, do not let Noah leave with her. I will be there in 30 minutes. I stood up so fast my chair fell over. Margaret is at my neighbor's house. She is trying to take Noah. Patricia grabbed my arm. This is what I warned you about. They will try to get him alone. They will try to convince him to give up the trust. Or worse, convince him you are the problem. Shaw was already packing up. Go, I will call ahead to the bank. Have them ready for you to access the safety deposit box. Take Patricia with you if you need a witness. And Stephanie, whatever is in that box, be prepared. Henry said it would change everything. That is not always a good thing. In the parking lot, Patricia caught up with me. Let me come with you. I know how Margaret operates. You would do that? Richard took my daughter. I will not let him take your son. We got in my car together. 2 women Richard had tried to destroy, racing to protect the next generation. As I pulled onto the highway, Patricia's phone buzzed. She looked at it and went pale. It is Derek. He is texting me. I glanced over. The message read, I know you are talking to Stephanie. Dad knows too. You are making a mistake. How did they know? I broke every speed limit getting home. Mrs. Chen's house was 3 doors down from mine. Margaret's car was still in the driveway. She was still there. I did not knock. Mrs. Chen had given me a key for emergencies. The scene in the living room stopped me cold. Margaret sat across from Noah, holding his hands. Noah's face was stiff, uncomfortable, but he was listening. Mrs. Chen hovered nearby, clearly distressed. And your grandfather just wants what is best for you, Noah, Margaret was saying. We all do. Sometimes families have disagreements, but that does not mean. That is enough, Mom. She turned. Her face flickered with surprise. Then that smooth mask slid back into place. Stephanie, I know exactly what you were doing. Noah stood up immediately and moved to my side. She was telling me I should think about giving up the trust, he said, that it was tearing the family apart. She said Grandpa Henry was confused when he wrote it, that he did not really mean it. His voice was steady, but I could see his hands shaking. She is wrong. Right, Mom? She is wrong, baby. About all of it. Margaret made one last attempt. Stephanie, please, I am not the enemy here. Then stop acting like one. I am trying to save this family. No, Mom. You are trying to save Dad's pride. That is not the same thing. Patricia stepped through the door behind me. Margaret saw her and went white as a sheet. Patricia, what are you? Hello, Margaret. It has been 20 years. We should talk. Margaret backed toward the door, suddenly looking less like a manipulator and more like a trapped animal. You do not know what you are doing, she whispered. You do not know what he will do if you keep pushing. What who will do, Mom? She did not answer. She just ran. We watched her car peel out of the driveway. Mrs. Chen apologized profusely. She seemed so sincere, I thought. It is not your fault. She has had decades of practice. I updated the list of approved contacts again. Noah would come to my workplace from now on. No one else. Patricia stayed for dinner. Noah studied her cautiously. Why have I not met you before? Because your grandfather Richard made sure of it. But that is a long story. I am getting used to long stories about this family. Patricia almost smiled. You are like your mother. That is good. Margaret's words kept echoing in my head. You do not know what he will do. What did that mean? What was Richard capable of? I thought about Sandra, the first wife who disappeared. I thought about the safety deposit box, waiting with its secrets. I thought about the address on the back of that photograph. Later, after Patricia left and it was just the two of us, Noah asked a question. "Mom, what is in the safety deposit box?" "I do not know yet. I am going tomorrow to find out. Is it bad?" I looked at my son, this kid who had been through so much already. I think it might be, but sometimes you need bad to fight worse. That night, around midnight, my phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. "Mrs. Lawson, my name is Sandra Keeling. I believe you have been looking for information about your father. We should meet. I have answers you need. And warnings you need more." I stared at the screen. Sandra, Richard's first wife, the one who disappeared 20 years ago. She was not dead. She was alive. And she was reaching out. I typed back 2 words. "When? Where?" Her response came quickly. "Tomorrow, 6 a.m. I will send you the address. And Stephanie? Bring everything you have on Richard, because what I am going to tell you, you will need proof that it is not just me being paranoid. What are you going to tell me?" A long pause. Then, what really happened the night I disappeared? I sat in the dark kitchen, phone glowing in my hand, thinking about all the ghosts Richard had created over the years, and wondering how many more were about to come back to haunt him. 2 weeks had passed since Christmas. Sandra and I had exchanged messages but had not met yet. She was cautious, wanted to make sure she was not being tracked. "Richard has eyes everywhere," she had written. "Give me a few more days to be safe." I understood paranoia now. I was living it. We had arranged to meet on Saturday, 3 days away. I had not opened the safety deposit box yet either. Shaw advised waiting until we had Sandra's testimony to corroborate whatever was inside. "Build the full picture before you show your hand," he said. The brass key sat in my jewelry box, waiting. Winter break was over. Real life resumed. Noah stood at the door that morning, backpack on, looking smaller than usual. "You okay?" I asked. "Yeah, just wondering what people know." "About Christmas, about everything." I did not have a comforting answer. Word spreads, families talk, kids hear things. That is how it works in communities where everyone knows everyone else's business. I drove him to Jefferson Middle School and watched him walk through the front doors. His shoulders were slightly hunched, bracing for whatever was waiting inside. Something in my chest ached. He had been through enough. He should not have to face this too. But he did, because Richard's cruelty did not stay contained. It rippled outward, touching everything. As Noah disappeared into the building, I noticed a familiar car in the parking lot, Vanessa's white SUV. She was dropping off Ethan at the same time, watching Noah with an expression I could not read from this distance. Calculating, planning. Nothing good ever came from that look. I went to work and tried to focus, checked my phone every hour, waiting for something to go wrong. By lunch, it did. Noah texted, "People are saying stuff. Can we talk after school?" My stomach dropped. I spent the rest of the afternoon watching the clock, counting down the minutes until 3:15. When I picked him up, he got in the car without looking at me. We drove in silence for 2 blocks before he spoke. "Ethan has been telling people things." "What things?" "He is telling everyone that our family is poor, that we had to steal from Grandpa Henry. He said Grandpa Henry was crazy and we manipulated him. He said I am not really a Lawson, that I do not belong." Each sentence hit like a small stone. Enough of them and it becomes a landslide. "Some kids believe him," Noah continued. "They were laughing at lunch. My friend Marcus asked if it was true. I did not know what to say. A girl in my math class said her mom said we destroyed the family. How do they even know about this, Mom?" I knew how. Vanessa, Margaret. The family network spreading poison through every channel they could find. Noah stared out the window. I thought school was the one place this would not follow me. "I am sorry, baby. It is not your fault." He paused. It is theirs. 13 years old and already learning that some people weaponize children to hurt adults. That was a lesson no kid should have to learn. That night, while doing Noah's laundry, I found a crumpled note in his jeans pocket. Block letters written in marker. Your mom is a thief. Your grandpa was crazy. You do not belong here. It was not Ethan's handwriting. I had seen his on birthday cards over the years. Someone else was involved. Someone else was helping Ethan spread this poison. The rumors did not stop. They grew. Noah came home quieter each day. He stopped talking about school entirely. I knew something was building. I just did not know when it would break. It happened on a Thursday, between second and third period. Noah was at his locker when Ethan appeared with 3 friends. I learned this later from Noah and from the security footage. But even without seeing it, I could picture every moment. "Hey, cousin," Ethan's voice dripping with mockery. "Still pretending you are part of this family?" Noah did not respond. Kept getting his books. "My dad says your mom brainwashed great-grandpa Henry. Took advantage of a dying old man. That is not true. Everyone knows it is true. You are just too stupid to see it." Noah stayed quiet. Kept his eyes on his locker. Ethan stepped closer. His friends formed a half-circle, blocking any escape. "You are a failure, Noah. Everyone knows it, even your own grandparents. Grandpa Richard is not he is the only grandpa that matters, and he thinks you are worthless. At least I know I am not worthless." The words came out quiet but clear. Noah surprised himself, I think. But he said it. Something flickered across Ethan's face. Not anger. Something else. For a split second, he looked uncertain. Tired. Like someone carrying a weight he did not want to carry. Then the mask slammed back down. "You are pathetic. Just like your mom. Just like your deadbeat dad who left." Noah flinched. That one landed. But he did not swing. He closed his locker, turned, and walked away. Someone was filming. There is always someone filming these days. The video showed Noah walking away while Ethan kept shouting. It showed Ethan's friends laughing, pushing Noah from behind. It showed Noah stumbling, catching himself, and still not fighting back. By that afternoon, the video was on 3 different social media accounts. In the video, right before Noah walked away, you could see Ethan's expression clearly. He did not look triumphant. He looked sick, like someone who knew they were doing something wrong but could not stop. I had seen that expression before, on Margaret's face. The phone call came at 2:45. Jefferson Middle School, principal's office. "Mrs. Lawson? This is Principal Henderson. We need you to come in. What happened? Is Noah okay?" "He is fine." "But there has been an incident. A family conflict affecting the school environment. Family conflict." Such a clean phrase for what was happening. I told my boss I had an emergency and drove to Jefferson in 12 minutes. Probably ran 2 red lights. I parked next to Vanessa's white SUV. Of course she was already there. Of course she had gotten there first. Principal Henderson was a tired-looking woman in her 50s with reading glasses and a no-nonsense expression. Vanessa sat in one chair, perfect posture, concerned parent face firmly in place. Noah sat in another, staring at his hands. Ethan was not there. Interesting. "Mrs. Lawson, please sit down." Vanessa spoke before the principal could continue. "I am so glad you are here, Stephanie. We need to address this." Her voice was honey and venom mixed together. "My son came home in tears. He said Noah threatened him." Noah's head snapped up. "I did not. Ethan is devastated by what is happening in our family, and now he is being targeted at school." The lies came out smooth as silk. She had rehearsed this. Principal Henderson looked uncomfortable. "We have received complaints from both families. Several parents have called about the situation affecting their children. I have a responsibility to maintain a safe learning environment. Mrs. Lawson, I have to ask, is there anything you can tell me about what is happening at home?" Vanessa smiled, a tiny, triumphant smile. She thought she was winning. Before I could respond, the principal's phone buzzed. She glanced at it and frowned. "Excuse me, I need to check something." She left the room. Vanessa and I sat in silence, Noah between us like territory being fought over. "I know what you are doing," I said quietly. "I am protecting my son. Something you should understand. You are using your son. There is a difference." Her smile did not waver. "I do not know what you mean." Principal Henderson returned looking troubled. "I have just been informed that there is video footage of the incident. Several students posted it online. Our IT department has pulled copies." Vanessa's smile flickered. "Just slightly." "May I see it?" I asked. "I think that would be appropriate for all parties." Henderson turned her monitor so we could all see. The hallway. Noah at his locker. Ethan approaching with friends. The audio was muffled but audible. We heard every insult Ethan threw, every word about being a failure, worthless, not belonging. We heard the comment about Noah's father. We saw Noah walk away without retaliating. We saw Ethan's friends push him. "That is taken out of context," Vanessa said quickly. "Ethan was provoked earlier." "Mrs. Lawson," Henderson interrupted, "the video clearly shows Ethan initiating the confrontation. It shows your son making targeted personal attacks against his cousin. Noah did not threaten anyone. He walked away." Vanessa's face was rigid. The mask was cracking. "Furthermore," Henderson continued, "I have spoken with Noah's teachers. They report that Noah has been withdrawn and anxious all week. Several have noted him being excluded from group activities. This appears to be a pattern of harassment, not a mutual conflict." I reached over and took Noah's hand. He squeezed back hard. A knock at the door interrupted us. A man entered, maybe 40 years old, hands calloused, practical demeanor. "Mr. Rodriguez, Noah's shop class teacher." "Excuse me, Principal Henderson. I wanted to speak before any decisions are made." He looked at me with kind eyes. "About Noah. There is something you should know about this kid." He turned to the principal. "I have had Noah in my shop class for 2 semesters. He is one of the most talented students I have ever taught. He fixed a bandsaw last month that our maintenance guy could not figure out. He helps other students without being asked, never brags, never shows off." Henderson nodded, listening. "I have also seen how some students treat him," Mr. Rodriguez continued. "The comments about being slow or dumb. Noah is not slow. He just thinks differently. His brain works in 3 dimensions. I have been teaching for 18 years. Kids like Noah, they are rare. Whatever is happening in his family, do not let it destroy what makes him special." Vanessa tried to deflect. "That is lovely, but it does not change the fact that there is a conflict." Mr. Rodriguez looked at her directly. "Ma'am, with respect, I watched that video. Your son called Noah a failure, worthless, and made fun of his absent father. Noah did not say a single cruel word back. He just left. If there is a problem here, I do not think it is Noah." Vanessa had no response. For once. Henderson made her decision. "Thank you, Mr. Rodriguez. I appreciate your input. Mrs. Lawson, Noah is not in any trouble. I want that to be clear. We will be speaking with Ethan and his parents about appropriate conduct. If harassment continues, there will be formal consequences." Vanessa stood up abruptly. "This is not over." She walked out without another word. I turned to Noah. "You okay?" He nodded slowly. "Mr. Rodriguez said I was talented. He is right. You are. Grandpa Henry used to say that. He knew. He always knew." As we stood to leave, Henderson cleared her throat. "Mrs. Lawson, one more thing." She looked uncomfortable. "We received a request this morning to add names to Noah's authorized pickup list. My blood went cold. Richard and Margaret Lawson. They claim to be his grandparents. I need to see that request." Henderson handed me a form. Official letterhead. Richard's signature. Submitted through the online parent portal that morning. They had listed their relationship as grandparents and requested emergency pickup authorization. "Do not add them to any list," I said. "Under any circumstances. They are not authorized to contact Noah at school. They are not authorized to pick him up, visit him, or receive any information about him. Henderson nodded. I understand. I will make a note in his file. Make it very clear. This is not a family disagreement. This is a safety issue. Noah had gone pale. They were trying to take me from school? They were trying to get access to you, without me knowing. Why? Because they want to convince you to give up the trust, or use you against me. I would not, I know. But they do not care what you would or would not do. They only care about winning. We walked out together, past the trophy cases and team photos, past normal kids living normal lives. I wondered if Noah would ever feel normal again. At the car, he stopped. Mom, I think they are going to keep coming. I think so too. What do? We stay one step ahead. We protect each other, and we do not back down. That night, after Noah went to bed, I made 2 calls. The first to Shaw. They tried to add themselves to his school pickup list. We need to move faster. The second is Sandra Keeling. Saturday is not soon enough. Can we meet tomorrow? Her reply came quickly. Tomorrow, 6 a.m. I will send you the address. And Stephanie? Yes? Bring everything you have on Richard. Because what I am going to tell you, you will need proof that it is not just me being paranoid. What are you going to tell me? A long pause. Then, what really happened the night I disappeared? I sat in the dark kitchen, the same kitchen where Richard had screamed that Noah would never amount to anything, and I realized something. This was not just about a trust or money or family pride anymore. This was about stopping a man who had been destroying people for decades, and I was running out of time to figure out how. Sandra Keeling was already at the truck stop diner when I arrived at 6 in the morning, 40 miles east of Columbus, the kind of place no one from our social circle would ever visit. She sat in a corner booth facing the door, hands wrapped around a coffee cup like it was keeping her anchored to the earth. She was mid-50s, sharp eyes, the posture of someone who had spent years looking over her shoulder. She looked nothing like I had expected, not broken, not fragile. She looked like a survivor, steel wrapped in ordinary. When she saw me, her eyes filled with something. Relief, maybe, or recognition. The look of someone who finally had a witness to their story. Mrs. Lawson? Stephanie, please, Sandra, though I have not used that name in 20 years. She slid a cup of coffee toward me. Drink. This is going to take a while. I met Richard when I was 22, she began. He was charming, successful, everything a young woman thinks she wants. We were married for 3 years. The first year was good. The second was tolerable. The third was hell. What happened? I found out who he really was. Sandra's hands tightened around her cup. Richard was embezzling from his father's business. Small amounts at first, then larger. I found the records by accident, confronted him. Biggest mistake of my life. He did not deny it. He just changed. Told me if I ever spoke about it, he would destroy me. Make sure no one believed anything I said. I was young, I was scared. I believed him. She reached into her bag and pulled out a faded manila envelope. I kept copies, all these years. Henry knew I had them. That is why he reached out to me before he died. My hands were cold as I took the envelope. What else happened? When Richard realized I had evidence, he got desperate. He started telling people I was unstable, having episodes, classic gaslighting before we had that word. His family believed him. Of course they did. Richard was the golden son. Even my own parents started doubting me. Sandra's voice dropped lower. One night he came home different, cold, calculated. He said he knew people who could make problems disappear. I asked if he was threatening me. He smiled. I am just explaining how the world works, Sandra. Some people matter, some people do not. I packed a bag that night and never went back. You did not disappear. You ran. Exactly. Changed my name, moved states, started over. Richard told everyone I had abandoned him, had a breakdown, vanished. He played the victim, the poor husband whose wife went crazy. Nobody asked questions. Nobody looked for me. 20 years of hiding, I said quietly. I have been Sandra Keeling for 2 decades. New identity, new life. Married again, divorced again. Kept my head down. But I never threw away those documents. I knew someday someone would need them. Henry found me 5 years ago, asked me to keep holding on, said the time would come. Sandra opened the manila envelope and spread the contents on the table. Financial records, bank statements, handwritten ledgers, evidence that Richard had stolen over $200,000 from his father's construction business in the 1990s. The company almost went bankrupt, Sandra explained. His father covered it up to protect the family name, but the records do not lie, and neither do I. One document caught my eye, a police report that had been filed and then withdrawn. What is this? Sandra's face darkened. The night before I left, Richard got physical. I went to the police. By morning, Richard's lawyer had convinced them I was hysterical. The report was buried. I stared at the document. Evidence of assault. Evidence of cover-up. Henry was always suspicious of Richard, Sandra continued, even when Margaret defended him. About 5 years ago, he hired a private investigator. Quiet, discreet. The investigator found me living in Kentucky, working as a bookkeeper. Henry called. We talked for 3 hours. What did he want? He was not looking to expose Richard. Not then. He wanted insurance, backup, something to protect the people Richard would eventually target. He said there was a boy, his great-grandson, who reminded him of himself. A boy Richard had already started dismissing, already started calling a failure. Henry wanted to make sure that boy had armor when the time came. That is why he created the trust. And that is why he asked me to hold these documents. If Richard ever went too far, if he ever tried to destroy someone the way he tried to destroy me, I was supposed to come forward. Henry said you would reach out when you were ready. He said you were the only one in that family with enough spine to use what I had. There is more in that safety deposit box Henry left you, Sandra added. Copies of some of these documents, but also things I do not have. Things only Henry knew about. What things? I do not know exactly. But Henry mentioned something once. Richard is not just a thief, he said. He is worse. And someday the proof will matter. Sandra gathered her things, preparing to leave. Stephanie, I need you to understand something. Richard has spent 30 years building his image, his reputation, his power. He will do anything to protect it. Anything. When I ran, I was alone. Nobody believed me. You have something I did not. You have proof. You have allies. You have a chance. Do not waste it. She paused at the edge of the booth. One more thing. Henry mentioned a woman, Helen Rourke. Said she and Richard went back decades. My blood chilled. She is his lawyer now. She is not just his lawyer, Stephanie. She is his fixer. And if he is using her, it means he is done pretending to play by the rules. Sandra left. I sat alone with the manila envelope, my mind racing. Richard was not just cruel, he was criminal, and I had proof. But proof only mattered if I used it right. Timing was everything. My phone rang as I pulled into my driveway. Derek! I almost did not answer, but something told me to hear him out. Stephanie, do not hang up, please. I am listening. Mom and Dad want to meet. Talk this out. No lawyers, no drama. That sounds like a trap. A pause. It is not. I promise. Look, I know things have gotten out of control. What happened at Christmas, what has been happening since, it is not good for anyone. Ethan is struggling. Noah is struggling. The whole family is falling apart. Mom and Dad just want to find a solution, something everyone can live with. Why should I believe that? Because I am asking you to trust me. Just this once. I did not trust Derek, but I wanted to see what they were planning. Fine, I will meet, but not at their house. Where then? A restaurant? Public? My choice. That is reasonable. When? Tomorrow night, 7 o'clock. I will text you the address. Okay, thank you, Stephanie, really. I hung up and immediately called Patricia. They want to meet. Derek is playing mediator. It is a trap, she said flatly. I know, but I want to see what kind. You are going? With my recorder on and my eyes open, I need to know what they are planning. Patricia sighed. Just be careful. Richard is most dangerous when he thinks he is winning. Noah overheard part of my conversation. That night he came to my room. Mom? If you are walking into a trap tomorrow, can you at least teach me what to do if something goes wrong? I stared at my 13-year-old son. When did he become the one worrying about protecting me? I picked Caruso's for the meeting. Mid-range Italian, always busy, good lighting. Most importantly, security cameras covering every table. I arrived 30 minutes early and requested a specific booth, making sure the manager knew I might need a witness later. Richard and Margaret walked in at exactly 7. But they were not alone. A woman followed them, late 40s, severe suit, sharper eyes. Helen Rourke, the fixer. So much for no lawyers. They slid into the booth across from me. Richard smiled the smile of a man who thought he had already won. Stephanie. Thank you for coming. You brought a lawyer. Derek said no lawyers. Helen is just here as a friend, to help facilitate. Helen Rourke extended her hand. I did not take it. Let us skip the pretense. What do you want? Helen pulled a document from her briefcase. A simple family agreement. Nothing adversarial. We all want what is best for the children. This ensures everyone benefits. I took the document. Started reading. This gives Richard 70% control of Noah's trust. It is a shared arrangement. It is theft dressed up in legal language. Richard leaned forward. Stephanie, be reasonable. Noah does not need all that money. He is a child. He will not know what to do with it. We are just trying to ensure it is managed properly. Managed by you. For your benefit. For the family's benefit. Noah is my family. You made it very clear he is not yours. Margaret had been silent the whole time, staring at the table. But when I mentioned Noah, she flinched. Her hand twitched toward me, then stopped. She wanted to say something. Richard's hand landed on her arm, a warning grip. She went still. I slid the document back across the table. I am not signing this. You are making a mistake, Helen said smoothly. The only mistake I made was coming here thinking you might actually want peace. Richard's jaw tightened. You are being emotional. No, Dad. I am being clear. Noah's trust stays with Noah. End of discussion. Richard's composure cracked. You ungrateful. He caught himself, looked around at the other diners, lowered his voice to a hiss. I built this family. Everything we have, I made it. You stole from your own father's business. Made nothing. Silence. Richard's face went white. How do you... I know a lot of things now, Dad. Things you thought were buried. Helen intervened, placing a hand on Richard's arm. Perhaps we should table this conversation for another time. There will not be another time. We are done here. I stood up. Richard grabbed my wrist. Sit down. We are not finished. Let go of me. Now. He held on for 3 seconds. Long enough for everyone nearby to see. Then he released me like my skin was burning him. I walked out without looking back. I could feel their eyes on me the whole way to the door. Outside, I took 3 deep breaths of cold air. My wrist was still warm where he had grabbed me. I photographed the red mark with my phone, timestamp, evidence. In my car, I sat in the parking lot with my hands shaking. Not from fear, from anger, from the effort of not screaming. My phone buzzed. Unknown number. A text. They are planning something worse. The restaurant was just the opening move. Be ready for what comes next. A friend. Who was warning me? Derek? Margaret? Someone else inside their circle? I did not know, but I was listening. As I drove away, I glanced in my rearview mirror. Margaret had followed me outside. She stood alone on the sidewalk, watching my car leave. Her hand was raised, not waving, reaching, like she wanted to follow but could not. I got home to find Noah waiting up. How did it go? About how I expected. They wanted me to sign away your trust. You did not, right? Never. He exhaled. Good. Because I have been thinking. About what? About how Grandpa Henry must have known this would happen. All of it. He did not just leave me money, Mom. He left us a playbook, the recordings, the documents, Sandra, Patricia, the safety deposit box. He knew exactly what Grandpa Richard would do. And he prepared for every move. I stared at my son. This kid who everyone called slow. When did you figure all that out? I had time to think, while everyone was underestimating me. He smiled. It was the first real smile I had seen in weeks. That night, around midnight, my phone rang. Shaw's number. Why was he calling so late? Stephanie. I just got a call from a contact at family court. Family court? Richard filed an emergency motion this afternoon. My blood went cold. What kind of motion? A petition for psychological evaluation. Of you, he is claiming you are mentally unfit to manage Noah's trust, and possibly to care for Noah at all. On what grounds? He is citing erratic behavior, paranoid accusations, and alienation of family relationships. Helen Rourke drafted it. The hearing is scheduled for next week. I could not breathe. This was what Patricia warned about, what Sandra experienced. Richard did not just fight, he destroyed, and he was coming for me now. Stephanie, are you there? I am here. We have time to respond. We have evidence. We have witnesses. But I will not lie to you. This is the nuclear option. He is trying to take everything. Noah too? A pause. If you are declared unfit, custody becomes a question. I sat in the dark, phone pressed to my ear, thinking about a man who had spent 30 years destroying people who stood in his way. He had made Sandra disappear, taken Patricia's daughter, silenced anyone who threatened his image. Now it was my turn. But Richard had made one mistake. He thought I was like the others, alone, unsupported, easy to break. He was wrong. Henry had spent years building me an arsenal, and tomorrow I was going to start using it. I sat at the kitchen table as the sun came up, reading the motion Shaw had emailed over. Legal language that boiled down to one thing. Richard was trying to take my son. Erratic behavior, paranoid accusations, alienation of family relationships. Every word was a knife disguised as concern. He had taken Patricia's daughter this way. He had made Sandra disappear. I was next. Noah came downstairs earlier than usual, still in pajamas. He looked at me and knew immediately. You did not sleep. No. Is it bad? I looked at my son. This kid who deserved a childhood, not a war. Your grandfather is trying to convince a judge that I am not fit to be your mom. His face went pale, then hard. That is a lie. I know. But lies only need to sound true to do damage. What do? We fight. With everything Grandpa Henry left us. The safety deposit box? It is time. I called Shaw first. I am going to the bank today. Meet me there. Then Patricia. Richard filed for a psych evaluation. He is going for custody. Her voice went cold. I will be there in an hour. We need to talk strategy. Then Sandra. He is making his move. I need you to be ready to testify. I have been ready for 20 years, she said. Just tell me when. As I hung up with Sandra, a text came through from an unknown number, different from the one that had warned me at the restaurant. The evaluation will not be fair. Richard has connections at the clinic. Be careful who you trust. First National Bank of Columbus was downtown, old brick and brass fixtures. Shaw was waiting in the lobby when I arrived, briefcase in hand. Patricia came moments later, face tight with purpose. 3 people united against one man's decades of destruction. The clerk led us to a private room. Box 1247 sat on the table like a coffin full of secrets. I opened it with shaking hands. Inside was a thick envelope marked Insurance. A smaller envelope marked Sandra Original. A USB drive, different from the one in Henry's toolbox. And at the bottom, a single photograph that made Patricia gasp. Richard, younger, maybe 30 years old, standing next to a building, the same industrial building from Henry's other photos. But this photo showed what the others did not. A woman's hand visible at the edge of the frame, reaching, desperate, On the back, Henry's writing. March 1997, the night before Sandra ran. He thought no one saw. Oh God, Patricia whispered. Henry knew. Knew what? The night Sandra left, there was an incident. Richard said she attacked him, that he defended himself. But this photo shows the opposite. He was the aggressor, and someone was watching. I stared at the image. This was not just evidence of cruelty. This was evidence of violence. Shaw opened the envelope marked insurance. Inside were medical records. Sandra's medical records from the night she disappeared. Emergency room admission. Injuries consistent with assault. And the admitting doctor's name, circled in red. Dr. Helen Rourke, M.D. Helen Rourke was a doctor? Shaw nodded slowly. Before she was a lawyer. She switched careers in the late 90s. Right after this, Patricia said, pointing at the medical records. She treated Sandra, documented the injuries, then buried the report. How do you bury a medical report? You lose it, misfile it, claim it was never official. But Henry had a copy. Shaw explained how Henry got it. A hospital clerk who remembered Sandra's case. A filing error that preserved one copy. Henry had gathered pieces for decades, never enough to use. Until now, until Richard went too far. Until Christmas. Patricia laid it out. Helen Rourke has been Richard's fixer since the beginning. She buried Sandra's medical evidence, probably helped with the embezzlement cover-up, and now she is his lawyer, filing motions to have you declared unfit. It is the same playbook, the same people, for 30 years. But now we have proof, Shaw said. Documented, dated, undeniable proof. I picked up the USB drive from the safety deposit box. What is on this? Shaw took it carefully. Let us find out. He pulled out a small laptop and inserted the drive. 3 files, video files this time, not just audio. The first showed Richard at a business meeting, signing documents that looked official. The second showed Richard and Helen Rourke in what looked like a hospital hallway, arguing in whispers. The third made us all go silent. Richard and his father screaming at each other in an office. You stole from your own family, Richard's father shouted. Your own blood. I did what I had to do. You were too weak to build anything real. Get out and never come back. You will regret this. I will make sure everyone regrets crossing me. Just before the video ended, Richard's father said something that made my blood freeze. What you did to that girl, Sandra, that is not business. That is something else. Something broken in you. Richard's response came cold and clear. Sandra got what she deserved. Anyone who threatens me gets what they deserve. The video ended. The room was silent. Patricia had tears running down her face. He said it. He actually said it. Sandra's voice would have been thick if she had been there. That is what he told me the night I left. Almost word for word. Stephanie, Shaw said quietly. If this goes public, Richard is finished. Not just legally, professionally, socially, everything he has built. He will be the villain in every story for the rest of his life. I thought about my father, the man who had called my son worthless, the man who had threatened Henry, assaulted Sandra, destroyed Patricia's family, the man who was now trying to take Noah from me. Included in the letter, I said, let him know we have it, but do not release it yet. Give him a chance to back down. And if he does not, then we burn his empire to the ground. Shaw asked a question. Who recorded the third video? It was not Henry. This was 15 years ago in an office. We all looked at the video metadata. The file name gave us the answer. HR Insurance 2009. Helen Rourke had recorded it herself. She had been keeping her own insurance against Richard, and somehow Henry had gotten a copy. Shaw spread everything on the conference table. Let us review what we have. Sandra's documents, embezzlement records, financial fraud, medical records, evidence of assault, Helen Rourke's involvement in cover-up, videos, Richard's confession of theft, his father's condemnation, Richard's threat, audio recordings, Richard threatening Henry, calling Noah worthless, Christmas video, public humiliation of a child. We cannot just dump all this at once, Shaw explained. We need to be strategic. Use each piece at the right moment. First priority, defeat the psychological evaluation motion. If we can show Richard's pattern of using false mental health claims, Sandra's case, Patricia's case, now yours, the judge will see he is weaponizing the system. Sandra is ready to testify, I confirmed. So am I, Patricia added. About Emily, about everything. What about Derek? Shaw asked. He has been quiet through all this. I do not trust him, I said. Neither do I, Patricia agreed. But he might be useful. He knows things. Things he has not told anyone yet. Shaw leaned back. I have to warn you both. Once we use this evidence, there is no going back. Richard will fight with everything he has. Helen Rourke will dig into your lives. They will look for anything to discredit you. I have nothing to hide. Neither do I. Not anymore. Then let us end this. I showed them the texts I had received. The restaurant warning. The clinic warning. Someone inside their circle is feeding you information, Shaw observed. Do you know who? I have a guess, Patricia said quietly. But I could be wrong. Who? She hesitated. Margaret. The room went silent. Think about it, Patricia continued. She has been under Richard's control for 35 years. She has seen everything. And lately, the way she has been acting, like she wants to say something but cannot. I remembered Margaret on the sidewalk, reaching toward my car. Margaret flinching when Richard grabbed her arm. Margaret whispering, I told you at the Christmas party. As we left the bank, my phone rang. Derek, Stephanie, do not hang up. Give me one reason not to, because I am not calling for Dad. I am calling despite him, something in his voice. Cracked, tired, real. I am listening. I need to see you, alone. Without Vanessa, without our parents. Why? Because I need to tell you something about Ethan. What about him? A long pause. He is not okay, Stephanie. He has not been okay for a long time. And I think we have been hurting him, all of us, the whole family, by making him the golden child. Is this another trap? Like the restaurant? No, I swear, no lawyers, no documents, no agenda. Just me and you, brother and sister. The way we used to be before. Before what? Before I let Dad turn me into him. The words hung in the air. I had never heard Derek talk like this. Tomorrow, the park by the library. 3:00, thank you. I know I do not deserve. You are right, you do not. But I will be there anyway. That night, I told Patricia about Derek's call. She was quiet for a long moment. Richard is losing control. When that happens, people start jumping ship. You think Derek is jumping? I think Derek is drowning. And drowning people will grab onto anything or anyone to survive. Over dinner, I decided Noah deserved the full picture. The hearing is in 5 days. The one where Grandpa Richard tries to say, "You are crazy?" That is the one. You are not crazy, I know. But I need you to know what might happen. The judge might order an evaluation anyway. It is standard. If that happens, a psychologist will talk to me. Maybe to you too. They will ask questions about our life, our home, our relationship. Will they ask about the Christmas party? Probably. Good. Then they will see what really happened. Mom, I am not scared of talking to someone. I know what the truth is. I know who you are. Whatever Grandpa Richard says, whatever his lawyer says, it does not change reality. You are a good mom. The best mom. I had to look away so he would not see my eyes water. When did you get so wise? I had a good teacher. 2, actually. You and Grandpa Henry. Noah, I need you to promise me something. Whatever happens in the next few weeks, whatever you hear or see or read about our family, remember that none of this is your fault. You did not cause this. You cannot fix it. Your only job is to be a kid. Can you do that for me? He smiled. That rare, real smile. I can try. After Noah went to bed, I found him sitting on his floor with Henry's toolbox open. He was holding the old Zenith radio, the one he and Henry had fixed together. Mom, I think I am going to fix this again. For the hearing, so Grandpa Henry can be there too. My heart cracked in the best way. I was almost asleep when my phone buzzed. Another text from that unknown number. The clinic warning person. The hearing will be moved up. Richard is pushing for day after tomorrow. How do you know this? A long pause. Then, because I am the one who types his correspondence. Who are you? Another pause. Then a photo came through. A woman's hand on a desk. A distinctive ring. Sapphire, antique. I knew that ring. I had seen it at the Christmas party. On Margaret's finger. My mother was the one warning me. My mother who had stood silent while Richard humiliated her grandson. My mother who had flinched every time Richard touched her. My mother who had reached toward my car as I drove away. She was trapped, and she was trying to help me fight him anyway. The next message came. I cannot leave him. Not yet. He would destroy me. But I can give you what you need. The evaluation doctor is Dr. Martin Wells. Richard plays golf with him. Request a different evaluator. Insist on it. And Stephanie, I am sorry. For everything. For not being stronger. The messages stopped. I called Shaw immediately. If the evaluator is compromised, we need to file a motion for recusal. I will draft it tonight. We will submit first thing in the morning. And Shaw? My mother is the source. She has been warning me all along. A long silence. That changes things. How? It means Richard does not have complete control anymore. His own wife is working against him. The walls are closing in. I lay awake, staring at the ceiling. My mother. After all these years of silence, all the times she had looked away, she was fighting back, in the only way she could. Maybe Patricia was right. Maybe people were jumping ship. Richard had spent decades building his empire on fear and control, but empires built on fear always crumble when the fear runs out. And Margaret was not afraid anymore. She was just waiting for the right moment. Maybe we all were. The park by the Columbus Public Library was quiet for a January afternoon. Cold weather kept most people home. I parked where I could see the whole area, scanning for Richard's Mercedes, Vanessa's SUV, anyone who looked like a lawyer. Nothing. Just joggers, dog walkers, a few parents with strollers. Derek sat alone on a bench near the fountain, hunched against the cold. He looked smaller than I remembered. Older. Like someone carrying a weight he could no longer hide. I walked over slowly and sat on the opposite end of the bench. We did not look at each other at first, just stared at the frozen fountain. "Thanks for coming," he said. "You said it was important. It is. But I do not know where to start. Start with why you are here instead of standing with Dad." He was quiet for a long moment. The wind picked up, scattering dead leaves across the path. "I have spent my whole life trying to be what he wanted," Derek said. "The perfect son, the perfect businessman, the perfect father. I thought if I did everything right, he would finally be satisfied. Was he?" A bitter laugh. "Richard Lawson is never satisfied. There is always another test, another way to prove you are worthy. I know that feeling." "No, Stephanie, you escaped." I leaned into it. What changed? Christmas. Watching Dad call Noah a failure in front of everyone. Watching Ethan's face while it happened. Ethan was smiling. He was supposed to be winning. But he was not. He looked sick, like he knew it was wrong but could not stop being part of it. That is when I realized what we have done to him. Derek pulled something from his pocket. A folded piece of paper worn from being handled. "Ethan wrote this. I found it in his room last week. It is not a suicide note, thank God. But it is close enough to terrify me." He handed me the paper. His hand was shaking. I unfolded it carefully. Ethan's handwriting, messy and rushed. "I am tired of pretending. I am tired of being perfect. I am tired of everyone expecting me to be something I am not. Sometimes I think Noah is the lucky one. At least people leave him alone. At least he gets to be himself. I do not even know who I am anymore." Derek's voice cracked. He wrote this the night before he confronted Noah at school. The things he said to Noah, those were not his words. They were Dad's words, Vanessa's words. We put them in his mouth and made him perform, just like Dad did to me, just like Dad does to everyone. My son is breaking, Stephanie, and I helped break him. He explained the system Ethan lived under, every grade monitored, every activity scrutinized, every friendship evaluated for appropriateness. Ethan was not allowed to fail, was not allowed to struggle, was not allowed to be a normal kid. Vanessa and I thought we were giving him advantages, structure, high expectations. But we were just building a smaller version of the cage Dad built for me. And Ethan is starting to suffocate. After Christmas, after everything went public, Ethan asked me something. He asked why we hate Noah so much. I did not have an answer. Because we do not hate Noah, we barely know him. We just needed someone to be less than, so Ethan could be more. That is sick. I know that now. What do you want me to do with this, Derek? I do not know. I just needed someone to know. I read Ethan's letter again. This was not the enemy. This was a child. Another child Richard was destroying, just differently. Noah and Ethan should talk, I said finally. Without us, without the family. Just two kids who have been used as weapons against each other. Derek looked at me with something like hope. You would allow that? They are cousins. They should have been friends all along. As I handed the letter back, Derek said quietly, There is more. About Dad. Things I have seen. Things I have ignored. He looked around nervously. Not here. It is not safe. But soon. He stood up. Thank you, Stephanie, for being the person I should have been. After Derek left, I drove straight to Shaw's office. Patricia was already there. Sandra joined by video call from Kentucky. The War Council was assembled. Shaw spread documents across his conference table. Richard filed for the expedited hearing, he said. Thanks to Margaret's warning, we got the evaluator changed. Dr. Rebecca Torres. Independent, no connection to Richard. But that just buys us time. We need to go on offense. How? We send Richard a message he cannot ignore. Shaw had drafted a cease and desist letter. But this was not ordinary legal correspondence. It listed in clinical detail every piece of evidence we had. The Christmas video, public humiliation of a minor, the audio recordings, Richard calling Noah worthless, threatening Henry, the financial documents, embezzlement from his father's company, the medical records, Helen Rourke's cover-up of Sandra's assault, the videos, Richard's confession, his father's condemnation. The demand was clear: immediate withdrawal of the psychological evaluation motion. No further attempts to contact Noah directly or through intermediaries. Acknowledgement that the Educational Skills Trust is valid and incontestable. Failure to comply within 72 hours will result in full public disclosure of all evidence, including submission to relevant licensing boards regarding Helen Rourke's conduct. Sandra's voice came through the video call. Will this work? Shaw considered. Richard is a narcissist. He will fight until fighting costs more than surrendering. This letter shows him the cost. Either he backs down, or we release everything and let the court of public opinion destroy him. He has spent 30 years building his reputation. This threatens all of it. I looked at the letter. Send it. As Shaw prepared to send the letter, Patricia noticed something on the document list. Wait. You included the fourth video, the password-protected one. Shaw nodded. We cracked it this morning. Henry used Noah's birthday. What is on it? Shaw's face was grim. Something Richard definitely does not want anyone to see. Shaw turned his laptop so we could all see. The video was dated 15 years ago. Richard sat in what looked like a bar, clearly drunk. Across from him, a younger Helen Rourke. Richard's voice was slurred but clear. You know what my father never understood? Power is not given. It is taken. I took everything I have. The business, the money, the respect. Anyone who stood in my way? I removed them. Helen leaned forward on the screen. Like Sandra? Richard laughed, a cruel, empty laugh. Sandra was a lesson. To anyone who thinks they can threaten me, she is gone, and nobody asks questions anymore. Helen's voice came again. And if someone asks questions now? Richard smiled. The smile I had seen 1,000 times, but now I knew what it meant. Then they disappear too. Not physically. That is messy. But socially, professionally, financially? I can make anyone disappear in the ways that matter. I have done it before. I will do it again. That is what family is for. Protecting the ones who deserve protection. And eliminating the ones who do not. The video ended. The room was silent. Patricia had tears running down her face. He said it. He actually said it. Sandra's voice through the call was thick. That is what he told me the night I left, almost word for word. If this goes public, Richard is finished, Shaw said quietly. Not just legally, professionally, socially. Everything he has built. He will be the villain in every story for the rest of his life. Include it in the letter, I said. Let him know we have it. But do not release it yet. Give him a chance to back down. And if he does not? Then we burn his empire to the ground. We sent the letter by email and certified mail at 4 p.m. The email had read receipts. Richard opened it at 4:17. Then silence. 5 o'clock. 6 o'clock. 7 o'clock. Nothing. At 8:43 my phone rang. Richard. I put it on speaker. Shaw and Patricia listening. Stephanie. His voice was different. Careful, controlled. Richard. I received your correspondence. And? Silence. Then. Where did you get those materials? That is not the question, Dad. The question is, are you going to withdraw the motion? We can discuss. There is nothing to discuss. Withdraw the motion. Leave Noah alone. Acknowledge the trust, or everything goes public. Another silence. Longer this time. You are making a mistake. I have heard that before, usually from people who are losing. Stephanie, listen to me. Whatever Henry told you, whatever those women have said, those women have names. Sandra, Patricia, your sister, your ex-wife, people you tried to destroy, people who survived you. They are liars. All of them. They are bitter and they are lying. Then you will not mind if a judge sees the evidence. His breathing got heavier. You do not understand what you are doing. I understand perfectly. I am protecting my son, the way you should have. For the first time in my life, I heard my father scared. Not angry, not controlling, scared. What do you want, Stephanie? I told you. The motion withdrawn. Noah left alone. The trust acknowledged. 72 hours. And if I do that, the evidence stays private? As long as you stay away from my family? Yes. And if you ever come at us again? No. Silence. I need to think. You have 72 hours. Use them wisely. I hung up. Shaw looked at me with something like admiration. Henry was right about you. What did he say? That you were the only one with enough spine to stand up to Richard. And enough heart to do it right. I did not feel strong. I felt exhausted. But I also felt something else. Momentum. The tide was turning. While we waited for Richard's decision, the Christmas video did its own work. Aunt Caroline had shared it with her church group. Someone in that group had shared it on Facebook. By now it had been seen by hundreds of people in the Columbus area. Patricia showed me some of the reactions. I cannot believe a grandfather would say that about his own grandchild. That poor boy. Did you see his face when they announced the inheritance? Richard Lawson? The one who sponsors the charity golf tournament? This is him? I am never doing business with that family again. The court of public opinion was delivering its verdict. Extended relatives started choosing sides. Uncle Franklin publicly posted his support for me and Noah. A cousin I barely knew sent a message. I always knew something was wrong with that family. I am sorry I did not say something sooner. Others stayed silent, which was its own statement. Richard's carefully constructed image was cracking, piece by piece. The tipping point came when a local news blog picked up the story. Columbus business leader's family video sparks online outrage. The article was careful. No accusations, just questions being raised. But it linked to the video. And the video spoke for itself. A child being called a failure. In front of 50 people, by his own grandfather. No amount of spin could make that look good. That night, another text from Margaret. He is panicking. Has not slept. Screamed at the wall for an hour. Helen Rourke came over. They fought. I think she is going to drop him. If she does, he has got nothing left. Richard's fixer, abandoning him. The walls were closing in. The final message from Margaret. He keeps saying your name. Over and over. Stephanie, Stephanie, Stephanie. Like he cannot believe you fought back, I typed back. Tell him I am just getting started. Then I put down the phone and smiled. For the first time in weeks, it did not feel forced. 2 days since the letter. 1 day left on the deadline. Richard had not officially responded. But he had not attacked either. Shaw said that was a good sign. He is calculating. Trying to find a way out that saves face. There is not one, I said. He will figure that out eventually. That evening, Noah asked me something unexpected. Mom, what happens to Ethan after all this? What do you mean? I mean, if Grandpa Richard loses, Ethan loses too, right? The money was never really about Ethan, I know. But he is still a kid. He is still my cousin. He said horrible things to me. But someone told him to say them. That does not make it okay, but it makes it complicated. I have been thinking about Grandpa Henry. He did not just protect me, he tried to protect everyone, even Aunt Patricia, even Sandra. Maybe we should try to protect Ethan too, even if his dad is on the wrong side. I looked at my son, this kid who had every right to be bitter. When did you become so wise? I had time to think, while everyone was underestimating me. As if on cue, my phone rang. Derek, Stephanie, I need your help. What is wrong? It is Ethan. He found out about the letter, about the evidence. He is scared. He thinks everything is falling apart. He will not talk to me. He will not talk to Vanessa. But he asked if he could talk to Noah. I looked at my son. He had heard. He nodded. Tomorrow, I said. They can meet tomorrow. After I hung up, Noah was quiet for a moment. Mom, I think Ethan and I are the only ones who can end this. What do you mean? The grown-ups started this war, but we are the ones it is really about. Maybe if we can figure out how to be okay with each other, the rest of it will not matter so much. I did not know if he was right, but I knew he was brave enough to try. Tomorrow my deadline for Richard would expire. Tomorrow my son would face the cousin who had been weaponized against him. And tomorrow, one way or another, the war Henry had prepared me to fight would enter its final phase. I just hoped we were ready for whatever came next. The morning of the deadline felt heavy. 72 hours had passed at midnight. No response from Richard, no withdrawal of the motion, no acknowledgement of the trust. Shaw's instructions were clear. If he does not respond by noon, we release everything. The evidence was loaded, ready to fire. But something told me today would bring more than just legal warfare. Noah was already up when I came downstairs, dressed in clean clothes, hair combed, unusual effort for a Saturday. The Zenith radio sat on the table, fully repaired. Grandpa Henry is coming with us today, he said. I did not argue, whatever gave him strength. Derek had texted the details for the meeting. Noon at Miller Park, the gazebo by the lake, neutral territory, public space, no parents, just the 2 boys. I would be nearby, Derek would be nearby, but invisible. This is their conversation, Derek had said. We already made enough mess. For once, I agreed with my brother. As we prepared to leave, my phone buzzed. Shaw, Richard's lawyer, just called. He wants to meet before the deadline, noon, same time as the kids. I stared at the message. It was not a coincidence. Richard was making his final play. Miller Park was quiet for a Saturday, cold weather keeping most people home. The gazebo sat by the frozen lake, picturesque and isolated. I spotted Derek's car on the far side of the parking lot. He gave a small nod. The truce was holding. We walked together in silence, Noah and I. The gravel path crunched under our feet. I could see a figure already at the gazebo. Ethan, alone, sitting on a bench. He looked smaller than I remembered. Younger. Scared. I stopped Noah at the edge of the gazebo area. I will be at the parking lot. 10 minutes away if you need me, I know. You do not have to forgive him. You do not have to be friends. You just have to be honest. Both of you. Noah nodded. Then he surprised me with a hug. Brief, fierce. Thanks, Mom, for trusting me to do this. I trust you with everything, baby. I stayed where I was as Noah approached the gazebo. Ethan stood up. They faced each other. Two boys, 14 and 13, carrying the weight of a family's war. They were too far away for me to hear, but I saw them sit down, together, on the same bench. My phone buzzed again. Shaw. Helen Rourke is here. She wants to talk before the deadline, coffee shop across from the park. I looked back at the gazebo. The boys were talking. I looked at my phone. The deadline was approaching. I am coming, I typed back. Time to fight on two fronts. As I walked toward the parking lot, I passed Derek's car. He was watching the gazebo through binoculars, his expression unreadable. But his hands were shaking. Whatever happened in that gazebo would not just affect the boys. It might determine whether Derek stayed with Richard or finally broke free. The coffee shop was small, mostly empty. Shaw sat at a corner booth, briefcase ready. Helen Rourke arrived at exactly noon. The deadline moment. She looked different than before, tired, the sharp edges worn down. She sat down without pleasantries. Mrs. Lawson, Mr. Shaw, let us not waste time. Richard wants to negotiate. The deadline was noon, Shaw said. We have not received formal withdrawal. That is why I am here, to deliver it, conditionally. Helen slid a document across the table. A simple family agreement. Richard will withdraw the psychological evaluation motion. He will acknowledge the Educational Skills Trust is valid. He will agree to no direct or indirect contact with Noah without Stephanie's express permission. In exchange. She paused. In exchange for what? The evidence stays private, forever. I read the document slowly. Shaw read over my shoulder. This is everything we asked for, I said. Yes. Why? Helen Rourke looked at me for a long moment. Because I am done. I have been cleaning up Richard Lawson's messes for 30 years. I have buried reports, lost files, intimidated witnesses. I told myself it was business, professional obligation. But that video you found, the one from the bar, seeing it again, hearing him say those things out loud, I realized I had been helping a monster. This is me getting out. Finally. She stood up. Sign the document. Take the deal. And for what it is worth, I am sorry. For all of it. As Helen walked away, Shaw noticed something I had missed. A second page stapled to the agreement. A handwritten note. There are more recordings. Ones he does not know I have. If he ever breaks this agreement, call me. I will finish what I started. No signature. Just initials. HR. I left the coffee shop with the signed agreement in my hand. Victory, but it felt hollow somehow. I walked back toward the gazebo, wanting to check on Noah. That is when I saw the white SUV tearing into the parking lot. Vanessa jumped out before the car fully stopped, face twisted with rage, phone in hand. Derek! I know you are here. I tracked your phone. She spotted Derek's car, then spotted him standing near the gazebo path. Then she saw the gazebo, and the two boys sitting together. What is this? What are you doing? She ran toward the gazebo. Derek intercepted her. Vanessa, stop. Let them talk. Talk? To her son? After everything? Ethan needs this. We need this. We need to win. That is what we need. No, that is what Dad needs. We need our family back. At the gazebo, Noah and Ethan had heard the commotion. They stood up, watching their parents. I reached the scene just as Vanessa broke free from Derek. Ethan, get in the car, now. Ethan did not move. Ethan, I said now. No, Mom. The word hung in the air. Simple. Devastating. I am tired, Mom. Tired of pretending, tired of being perfect, tired of hurting people because it is what Grandpa wants. Noah is not my enemy. He is my cousin. He is family, the only one in this family who actually talked to me like I am a person. Vanessa's face cycled through shock, anger, hurt. Ethan, you do not understand. I understand everything. I have understood for years. I just was not brave enough to say it. The sound of another car. We all turned. A black Mercedes pulling into the parking lot. Richard behind the wheel. Margaret in the passenger seat. They had tracked Vanessa. And now the whole family was here, in the same place, with nowhere to hide. Richard walked toward us like he owned the park, that confident stride, that controlled expression. But something was different. His eyes kept darting, calculating. He did not know about Helen's deal yet. He did not know he had already lost. Ethan, come here. The command voice, the one that had controlled this family for decades. Ethan flinched, but he did not move. Grandpa, I do not want to. I am not asking what you want. I am telling you what to do. That is the problem. Richard looked around at the assembled family. Derek standing with Vanessa, but clearly not on the same side. Margaret hovering by the car, watching. Me with the signed agreement in my pocket. Noah standing next to Ethan like they had made some silent pact. This is what you wanted, Stephanie? To turn my own family against me? They turned themselves, Dad. All I did was stop pretending. Noah stepped forward. Grandpa Richard? Everyone turned. Ethan told me about the pressure, the expectations, the fear. You did that to him, just like you did it to my mom, to Aunt Patricia, to everyone. You think you are building a family, but you are just building people who are afraid of you. That is not legacy. That is just sad. Richard's face went purple. You dare. Yeah, I dare. Because someone has to. In the silence that followed, Margaret walked forward. Everyone watched, uncertain. She passed Richard without looking at him, walked straight to Noah, and pulled him into a hug. I am sorry, she whispered. I should have said that years ago. I am so sorry. Richard stared at his wife like she had just stabbed him. Margaret, what are you doing? She turned to face him. Something I should have done 30 years ago. Choosing someone else over you. Richard's control finally cracked, his face contorted. He lunged toward Margaret, toward Noah. Derek and I both moved at the same time. But Ethan got there first. He stepped between his grandfather and his cousin. Do not touch him. The words came out low and steady, the voice of someone who had finally found his line. Richard stood alone, his wife behind Noah, his son beside Derek, his grandson blocking his path. The only one who came to stand with him was Vanessa, but even she looked uncertain, outnumbered, outmaneuvered. I pulled the document from my pocket. It is over, Dad. Your lawyer dropped you. She signed the agreement. You withdrew the motion, acknowledged the trust, agreed to stay away. Helen Rourke is done protecting you, and everyone here just saw who you really are. For a moment I thought he might explode. Instead, he deflated. The posture sagged, the face went slack. He looked old, fragile, almost human. You do not understand, he said quietly. Everything I did was for this family. No, Dad, everything you did was for yourself. The family was just your excuse. Richard looked around one more time. At Margaret, who would not meet his eyes. At Derek, who was holding Ethan. At me, with the proof of his surrender in my hands. At Noah, who had started all of this by simply existing. This is not finished, he said. Yes, it is. He walked back to his car, got in, drove away. Vanessa hesitated, then followed in her SUV. The park was quiet again. Margaret still had her arm around Noah. Derek stood with Ethan, both of them crying quietly. I looked at this broken, bleeding family and felt something I did not expect. Not triumph, not revenge, hope. Noah caught my eye. Is it over? Almost. There is still one more thing. What? We have to figure out how to be a family again. Not his version. Ours. Later, Noah told me what had happened in the gazebo. What he and Ethan had said to each other when no one was listening. When I sat down, Ethan would not look at me, Noah said. He just stared at the frozen lake like it was the most interesting thing in the world. So I waited. Grandpa Henry always said the best conversations start with silence. Finally, Ethan said, "I am sorry." Just like that. No excuses, no explanations. I said, "For what?" He looked at me like I was crazy. For everything. For what I said at school. For what they said about you at Christmas. For being the reason they treat you like garbage. I told him, "You are not the reason." He said, "Then why do they do it?" I thought about that for a while. Then I said, "Because they need someone to be the failure so you can be the success. You are the trophy. I am the warning. Neither of us gets to be a person." Ethan started crying then. Not loud, just leaking. He said, "I do not want to be the trophy." I said, "I know. I could see it at Christmas. When they called my name. You did not look happy. You looked sick." Then Ethan told me things I did not expect. About how he has panic attacks before every test. How he cannot sleep before competitions. How his mom checks his grades every single night and lectures him if anything drops below 95. How Grandpa Richard calls him the hope of the family like it is a title he has to earn every day. He said, "Sometimes I wish I could just stop. Stop trying, stop pretending, just be normal, like you." I told him normal is not what they call me. He laughed. First real laugh I had ever heard from him. "Yeah, they call you worse things. But at least you do not have to carry anything. You are free, Noah. I am not." Noah paused in his retelling. "That is when I understood, Mom. Ethan is not my enemy. He is another prisoner. We are both in cages, just different kinds. His is golden, mine is invisible. But neither of us can get out unless we help each other." He looked at me with those serious eyes. "Ethan told me something else, something about Grandpa Richard. He said my dad is scared of him too. Everyone is. But nobody talks about why. I think Ethan knows more than he has told anyone, even his parents. Tomorrow there would be a hearing, documents to sign, legal formalities to complete. But the real battle had been won here, in a park, by a 13-year-old boy who refused to hate his cousin, and a 14-year-old boy who finally found the courage to say no. Henry had prepared me to fight a war. Instead, these two kids had found a way to end one. Maybe that was the real legacy he had wanted all along. The courtroom smelled like old wood and older decisions. Family Court, Columbus, Ohio, 3 days after the park confrontation. Shaw sat beside me, briefcase full of evidence we no longer needed to use. Richard sat across the aisle with a new lawyer. Helen Rourke was gone. He looked diminished, smaller than I had ever seen him. Margaret was not with him. First time in 35 years, she had not stood by his side. Judge Martha Coleman was mid-60s, reading glasses, no-nonsense demeanor. She reviewed the withdrawal documents Richard's new lawyer had filed. "Mr. Lawson, you are withdrawing the motion for psychological evaluation." "Yes, Your Honor, and you are acknowledging the validity of the Educational Skills Trust established by Henry Mitchell?" A long pause. "Yes. And you agree to no contact with the minor Noah Lawson without express written permission from his mother?" An even longer pause. "Yes." Judge Coleman looked at Richard over her reading glasses. "Mr. Lawson, I have reviewed the materials submitted by both parties. I want to be clear, this court does not look favorably on attempts to weaponize mental health evaluations against fit parents. Whatever family disagreements exist, children should never be pawns. I hope everyone here remembers that going forward." Richard said nothing. His jaw was clenched so tight I could see the muscle twitching. The hearing lasted 23 minutes. 23 minutes to end a war that had consumed months. As we filed out, Richard passed me without a word. But at the door, he stopped, turned. "You think you have won?" "I do not think anything, Dad. I know." He walked away. I never saw him in person again. As Richard left the courthouse, I noticed a woman waiting by the entrance, Sandra Keeling. She had come to watch, to witness the man who had terrorized her finally face consequences. Their eyes met for 1 second. Richard looked away first. 1 month after the hearing, the dust began to settle. But settling dust reveals what was hidden underneath. And what we found was both devastating and liberating. Richard's fall was swift and complete. The Christmas video had done its work. His business partnerships dissolved. No one wanted to associate with him anymore. The charity board he had chaired for 15 years asked for his resignation. The country club membership he had treasured was quietly revoked. He became what he had always feared most: invisible. Margaret filed for separation 2 weeks after the hearing. She moved into a small apartment downtown, the first home she had chosen for herself in 35 years. She called me once, late at night, voice trembling. I should have left him decades ago. After what he did to Sandra, to Patricia. Why did you not? Because I was afraid. And because I told myself the fear meant something else. What did you tell yourself it meant? Silence, then. Love. I called it love for 35 years. What do you call it now? Survival. That is all it ever was. Derek and Vanessa separated too. Derek moved out, took an apartment near his office. Shared custody of Ethan, though Ethan spent more time with Derek. Vanessa fought it at first, but Ethan made his wishes clear. I love you, Mom, but I cannot be your trophy anymore. Those words broke something in her. Maybe something that needed breaking. Patricia came back to Columbus for the first time in 20 years. Not as a ghost, as family. She reconnected with Margaret, 2 women who had both been diminished by the same man. They had coffee every Tuesday, talked about everything they had lost, everything they might still find. Patricia told me something during one of our conversations. Emily called me, my daughter, the one Richard took. Her voice cracked. She saw the news. She wants to meet. 20 years of silence, broken by a 13-year-old boy who refused to be erased. Noah and Ethan started spending time together. Really together. Not as competitors, not as weapons, as cousins. Saturdays at our house, working in the garage, Noah teaching Ethan how to use tools. Ethan teaching Noah video games. The things they should have shared all along. I walked into the garage one Saturday to find them both covered in grease. They were working on an old motorcycle Noah had found at a garage sale. It does not run, Noah had said when he brought it home. But it will. Ethan was holding a wrench, looking uncertain but determined. I have never fixed anything before, he admitted. Neither had I, Noah said, until Grandpa Henry showed me. Now I am showing you. The panic attacks were getting better for Ethan. He had started seeing a therapist. His grades had dropped slightly, and for the first time no one punished him for it. I got a B+ in math, he told Noah one day. Cool. My mom would have freaked out before. What did she say now? She said she was proud of me for trying. That is good, right? Yeah, it is weird, but good. Noah had started a vocational program, electronics and small engine repair. The trust Henry left was paying for it, exactly as Henry had intended. His teacher, Mr. Franklin, called me after the first month. Mrs. Lawson, your son is exceptional, I know. No, I have been teaching for 22 years. I have never seen hands like his. He sees how things work, not just mechanically, intuitively. That is a gift you cannot teach. Noah and Ethan were not just cousins anymore. They were friends. Maybe something closer. Brothers in a way that had nothing to do with blood. They had been through a war together, and they had both chosen the same side, the right side. One evening I overheard them talking in the garage. Do you ever hate them? Ethan asked. Our grandparents? For what they did? Noah was quiet for a long moment. I used to. But hate takes energy. And I would rather spend that energy fixing things. Ethan laughed. You sound like a fortune cookie. I sound like Grandpa Henry. That is better. 3 months after the hearing, Shaw called with news. The trust was fully activated. ready to deploy. $180,000, plus the Florida property proceeds. Noah's future, secured by a man who had seen it coming years before. The money funded the vocational program, tuition, tools, materials, a workshop renovation in our garage, proper equipment, proper lighting, a savings account for Noah, managed until he turned 18, and one special purchase: the motorcycle he and Ethan were restoring. Noah did not care about the money, not really. What he cared about was what it represented. "Grandpa Henry believed in me," he said, "before I believed in myself. He saw something everyone else missed. I want to be worth what he saw." "You already are, baby. You always were." We had a small gathering when the garage renovation was complete. Just family, the real family, the one we had chosen: Patricia, Margaret, Derek, Ethan. Shaw came too, with a bottle of champagne and a letter he had been holding. "Henry asked me to give this to Noah when the workshop was ready. He wrote it 2 years before he died." Noah read it aloud, voice steady. "Noah, if you are reading this, the workshop is built and the trust is working. I am probably gone. But I want you to know, I am not really gone. Every time you pick up a tool, I am there. Every time you fix something broken, I am there. Every time someone tells you that you are not enough, remember, I chose you. Not because you were perfect, because you were real. Build good things, Noah. Fix what is broken. And never let anyone make you small. I love you. I always will. Grandpa Henry." Margaret was crying when Noah finished. "I never knew Dad felt that way," she whispered. "He never said." Patricia put a hand on her shoulder. "He showed it. Every day. We just were not paying attention." 6 months had passed since Christmas. 6 months since my father called my son a failure in front of 50 people. 6 months since I stood up and fought back. It felt like a lifetime. It felt like yesterday. I learned something about family. Family is not blood. Family is who shows up, who protects, who chooses you when it costs them something. Margaret chose me when it cost her a marriage. Patricia chose me when it cost her safety. Derek chose his son when it cost him everything he thought he wanted. That is family. Not the accident of genetics. The intention of love. I learned something about strength, too. I used to think strength meant enduring, swallowing, surviving. Now I knew better. Strength means standing up, speaking out, protecting what matters. Strength means being willing to lose everything to save someone you love. Henry knew that. He had built his whole plan around it. He had bet on me, and I had proven him right. I learned something about Noah. My son was never broken. He was never a failure. He was just different. And different, I had learned, was a superpower. The world needs people who think differently, who see what others miss, who fix things instead of breaking them. Noah was exactly who he was supposed to be. The only failure would have been if I had let them change him. Now, on Saturday mornings, I bring coffee to the garage, watch Noah and Ethan work on whatever project has captured them, listen to them laugh, argue, figure things out together. And I think about Henry, about what he really left us. Not just money, not just protection, permission, to be ourselves, to be enough. One Saturday, Noah looked up from the motorcycle and said something unexpected. "Mom, I have been thinking." "About what?" "About writing this down. Everything that happened, like a story." "Yeah. So other kids know. Know what? That being different is not the same as being broken, and that someone out there believes in them, even if they cannot see it yet." It was a Sunday evening, late spring. Noah had been working on something secret for weeks. "Come to the garage," he said. "I want to show you something." On the workbench sat the old Zenith radio, the one he and Henry had fixed together years ago, but it was different now, modified, upgraded. "I rebuilt it," Noah said, "from the inside out, added new components, made it stronger. But I kept the parts that mattered, the original parts, the ones Grandpa and I touched." He flipped the switch, static at first, then music, an old jazz station, scratchy and warm. But underneath the music, something else, a voice, Henry's voice, a recording Noah had found on the old USB drive. This is Henry Mitchell. If you are hearing this, someone I love is listening. Remember, the people who fix things are the ones who keep the world running. Everyone else just takes credit. The recording ended. The jazz played on. Noah looked at me, eyes bright. He is still here, Mom. In the things he built, in the things he taught me, in us. I pulled my son into a hug. This boy who had been called worthless, who had been dismissed and diminished. This boy who was more whole, more real, more valuable than anyone who had ever doubted him. I love you, I said. I know. I love you too. And Mom? Yeah? Thanks for fighting for me. Always, baby. Always. We stood in the garage, radio playing, tools hanging on the walls, Henry's legacy surrounding us. Outside, the sun was setting, orange and pink and gold. Inside, we were warm. We were safe. We were home. Not the family I was born into, the family I chose, the family that chose me back. Later that night, I found a note Noah had left on my pillow. Just one sentence. You are the best mom in the world. Grandpa Henry would be proud. I kept that note. I still have it. Some things you hold on to forever. People ask me sometimes, did you go too far? And I think about everything that happened. The humiliation, the lies, the legal battles, the threats, the moment I stood up in front of 50 people and chose my son over peace. Did I go too far? No, I went exactly as far as I needed to. Because protecting your child is not revenge. It is love. And love does not have a limit. If you are listening to this, and you are in a family that makes you feel small, if someone has told you that you are not enough, that you are broken, that you are a failure, I want you to hear me. They are wrong. You are not what they say you are. You are not the boxes they try to put you in. You are worth fighting for, even if you have to be the one who fights. As for my father, Richard lives in a condo now, alone. He does not speak to Margaret, barely speaks to Derek. He is not a monster in a movie. He is just a man who spent his whole life building walls. And now he has to live inside them. I do not hate him anymore. I do not have room for hate. I am too busy loving the family I found. Noah is 15 now, still fixing things, still different, still perfect. Ethan comes over every weekend. They are building a go-kart together. Margaret visits sometimes. We are learning how to be mother and daughter again. Patricia reunited with Emily. They are taking it slow, but they are trying. And Henry is everywhere. In the tools, in the workshop, in Noah's hands, in the story I just told you. So let me ask you, did I go too far or not far enough? I would love to know what you think. Drop a comment and tell me your story. Maybe someone in your family called you the failure. Maybe you were the golden child who could not breathe. Maybe you are still waiting for someone to stand up for you. Either way, I want to hear from you. Because stories like this, they connect us. They remind us we are not alone. If this story meant something to you, hit that subscribe button. We have got more tales where this came from. Stories of families pushed to the edge and the people who pushed back. Stories about justice, about karma, about finding your voice when everyone wants you silent. So subscribe, hit the notification bell, and I will see you in the next one. Until then, remember, you are not what they call you. You are what you choose to become. Thanks for listening. This was Tales Fair. And this story, it is for every kid who was ever told they were not enough. You are. You always were. The radio is still playing in my garage. Henry's voice somewhere in the static, reminding us. Fix what is broken, build what matters, and never let anyone make you small. This story is fictionalized for dramatic effect,